At this time, I would like to call the City of Bowie regular City Council meeting of Tuesday, January the 20th, 2026, in council chambers. It is now 8:01 p.m. Would everyone please stand who is able and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam City Clerk, could you confirm that we have a quorum this evening for the record?
Yes, Mayor, we do have a full quorum for this evening's meeting. Present in council chamber, we have Councilmember Steph, Councilmember Rogers, Mayor Pro Tem Wolfley, Mayor Adams, Councilmember Brady, Councilmember Truesdale, and Councilmember Ndebumadu.
Thank you very much, Madam City Clerk. At this time, I will ask my colleagues if anyone has any agenda additions, deletions, or amendments. Hearing none, by general consent, we'll move on to citizen participation. Thank you, Madam City Clerk. All right. Amy Posey. Please come forward. Good evening, and feel free to adjust the mic to what's comfortable for you.
Thank you, sir. Tonight, I want to speak on behalf of Principal Myers from Tulip Grove Elementary. My name is Amy Posey, and I have lived at 3005 Trinity Drive for 21 years. In 1964, Tulip Grove Elementary was built with many other Bowie elementary schools for local homes, and all the students walked to school. As it happens, times have changed, and where Tulip Grove still has 39 independent walkers and 71 students that are met by adults on school property and walked home. There are 2 local buses that transport students that have to walk more than a mile, leaving 92 students that are dropped off via kiss and ride. Under the, you've received a packet of papers from me. I have shared with you an excerpt of the student handbook that includes the arrival and dismissal protocol that the school follows. As you review it, you will see that Tulip Grove takes safety of the students very seriously. They also have an in-house video that they share with families to show proper arrival and dismissal procedures. In 2020, the city did a traffic study of the area around the school. This study was flawed as there were no students at the school at the time due to winter break, and because of that, there was no traffic to report. With those findings, no changes were ever made. 2 years ago, with the school boundaries changed, Tulip Grove received over 100 students from the old Church Road area of Bowie. They receive a bus to transport them, which means we now have 3 buses. But a majority of those students are still transported to the school by their families via car. So we're not asking for another traffic study. We have a list of requests that we would like to have changed to the streets around the school. We would like the installation of at least 2 full speed humps on Traynor Lane and Tulip Grove Drive to ensure that vehicles slow down while passing the school. We would like all-way stops at Tulip Grove Drive and Traynor Lane, all-way stops at Traynor Lane and Traymore Lane, all-way stops at Traymore Lane and Tulip Grove Drive. We would like the replacement and expansion of the no stopping or standing signage along the streets with enforcement to update to match the current school times. The school has been set back 15 minutes 2 years ago, and so the school signage the road signage no longer matches our school hours. We would like to make the road temporarily one-way during arrival and dismissal. If you look into the package, you'll see that there's already a flow that the cars come in from Tulip Grove and they exit out towards Traymore. We would like school zones with flashing lights on Traymore and Tulip Grove Drive, further limiting the risk of excessive speeding in the areas. Those are all single implementations. They're one and dones. They get implemented and there's no additional cost. But we're asking to have an additional crossing guard placed at the end of Traynor and Traynor and Traymore, because that's where most of the students go out into the neighborhood, because that's where all the houses are located. We would also like to have, for the first 10 days of school or so, every year to have law enforcement to make sure that no cars drive in the opposite direction on that one-way street. Those are our requests from Tulip Grove Elementary today. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Next, we have Charles Hudson. Hey, please, go right ahead. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Adams and members of the council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight regarding my neighbors and my concerns about traffic safety on our neighborhood streets. My name is Charles Hudson. I am a Bowie native and have lived on Traynor Lane for the past 11 years. I'm also the parent of a 10-year-old child, so this issue is not abstract for me. It affects my own family every single day. The streets I'm speaking about, Traynor Lane, Traymore Lane, and Tulip Grove Drive, are not typical residential streets. They directly surround Tulip Grove Elementary School. That reality brings a high concentration of children, parents, pedestrians, and vehicles into a very small area, often within a short and intense window of time. Like my neighbors, we look out for one another. And in that spirit, we're here tonight to express serious concerns about the lack of adequate traffic calming measures on and around these streets. I don't need to remind the council of the incident last November in which a child was struck by a vehicle after school dismissal. We are thankful that the child did not suffer life-threatening injuries, but that outcome depended largely on circumstance and luck. As residents, we routinely observe vehicles traveling at excessive speeds in these areas, particularly outside of peak enforcement windows, placing children's, pedestrians, and drivers at unnecessary risk. These concerns have intensified in recent years. School rezoning increased Tulip Grove's enrollment by more than 140 students. Many of these students walk to school or are driven by parents, significantly increasing traffic volume. During drop-off and pickup, conditions can become congested and chaotic, with limited visibility and frequent conflicts between vehicles and pedestrians. In light of these realities, neighbors on Traynor Lane, along with members of the Tulip Grove Elementary community, are asking the city to take immediate, targeted action to reduce the risk of a more serious incident. Specifically, we are requesting the following: installation of at least 2 full speed humps on Traynor Lane. These will ensure that vehicles slow while traveling past the school and through the surrounding residential area. Installation of all-way stop signs on the following intersections: Tulip Grove Drive and Traynor Lane and Traymore Lane and Tulip Grove Drive. These intersections are heavily used by children walking to and from school. Importantly, the city's own 2024 stop sign camera pilot program demonstrated that stop sign non-compliance is widespread. At multiple Bowie intersections, the city recorded violation rates ranging from over 50% to nearly 90% of vehicles failing to come to a complete stop. This data shows that signage alone is often not enough. We respectfully request that the city consider deploying stop sign enforcement technology in school zones, such as ours, where children are most vulnerable, consistent with approaches used in other jurisdictions. In addition, replacement and expansion of the no stopping or standing signage, along with enforcement times to update and reflect the current Tulip Grove Elementary bell schedule, will improve sight lines and ensure access for emergency vehicles. Adding temporary one-way traffic patterns during school drop-off and pickup provides being coordinated with enforcement will help maintain traffic flow and reduce congestion and pedestrian conflict. And finally, lowering the speed limit on Trainer Lane will help further reduce the risk of excessive speed in areas with the highest concentration of children. These are all proven, low-cost, low-maintenance traffic calming measures that many communities use successfully to protect children in school zones. We have raised these concerns for years. The recent incident makes clear that the risks on these streets are not hypothetical. As a parent, neighbor, and a lifelong member of the community, I respectfully urge the city to act now before we are faced with a far more tragic outcome. Thank you for your time and for your commitment to the safety of Bowie's children.
Thank you. Next, we have Patrick Callis. The writing is just a little bit, bear with me, if I got your name wrong. Good evening, Patrick. Did I get your name right?
Lowy, L-A-L-Y. Evening,
Okay.
everyone. I as well am here for the traffic calming measures on Trainer Lane. My name's Patrick Lally. I've lived at 2910 Trainer Lane for nearly 10 years. I myself have 4 little boys that reside there as well. I think the main consensus that we've gotten as a community over the last few weeks discussing this is one of the best neighbors we have on that street is Tulip Grove Elementary School. The fact of the matter is I have relatives that go there, godchildren that go there, friends that go there, and the largest concern, whether it be on my side of the street or Tulip Grove Elementary side of the street, our 1/10 of a mile long street isn't safe. It's where the youngest residents of this city go every day. It's either unsafe due to a FedEx truck or another older resident that's late for work. Could be a parent that's late to drop off their child. There's nothing in place in the half mile surrounding that school to mitigate the risk of excessive speed. Sure. As I said, there's nothing around a half mile of that school to mitigate the risk of excessive speed. In the last 4 or 5 years since we initiated the request for the traffic calming, or excuse me, this traffic study, a few major events have occurred. About a year afterwards, a car spun out on Tulip Grove right past the intersection of Trainer Lane and Tulip Grove Drive. That vehicle only missed the house because of the tree in the front yard. About a year after that, there was another incident where a car jumped the curb on Tulip Grove as well. Fast forward to a few months ago, young boy was hit leaving school after getting out. That road is a blind spot twice a day for about 20 minutes at a time. There's cars lined on every road, every side of the road on every corner with one crossing guard where majority of the kids cross the street. These kids are in kindergarten to 5th grade. They're no higher than my waist. You can't see them behind a car. The Saturday after Christmas this past year, an SUV was stolen around our neighborhood. He was able to begin to flee from the police, and due to his ability to get as fast as he was going, he turned left onto Trainer Lane, hopped the curb, drove through my neighbor's yard, and took out 2 of his trees before being stopped. We don't live on a safe road, and we have one of the many elementary schools 30 feet from my front door. I have 4 little boys that I have to hurry into the garage after we go grocery shopping on a Saturday afternoon. It's a 1/10 of a mile, if that. You shouldn't be able to hit 40 miles an hour on a road with a school. So again, We plead, we ask. As a community, we love our neighbors, including the school. It's a great place for my kids to safely ride their bikes on the weekend. We enjoy it. Taught my kids to rollerblade, play street hockey. It's fantastic. I bought the house before the school had been rebuilt. I knew I was buying a house across the street from an elementary school. We love it. We just want to enjoy the community we have built and helped live in safely. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Gavin Stokes. Good evening.
Good evening, City Council members, Mr. Mayor, and fellow guests. I'm Gavin Stokes. I'm a board member of the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce. And today I want to discuss a little bit about who we are and what we do, and thank you for the partnership that we have had in the past, and look forward to working with the city in the future. The Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce has had quite a bit of activity recently. We recently hosted our holiday party at a Bowie business, Shantu, right on 301. We, last week, had a Connect Tech event in partnership with County Council member Walla Blagay. It was well attended. I think we had over 100 plus business community members there. We met with the CIO of Prince George's County, as well as the head of TEDCO. Going forward, we're hoping that we'll be able to have additional events. We have a couple of events coming up. We have some lunch and learns scheduled for the month of February, in which will provide opportunities for businesses to learn about how AI can help them in their day-to-day business, business finance, as well as some real estate discussions and business brokerage. So again, I want to thank you for your partnership with the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce. We hope that we'll be able to work together closely in the future, and want to make sure that all folks in our community that are interested in entrepreneurship and would like to join the Chamber of Commerce, reach out to us. You can find us on greaterbowieChamber.org, and we look forward to working with you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Scott D.
Vining.
Berman.
Vining,
Vining.
correct.
Thank you so very much, because
Not a
I
problem.
feel better now.
Not a problem.
Go right ahead,
Good
sir.
evening, members of the council members and the mayor. Wanted to say hello and congratulations, Mr. Wolfley, on your position. I was not aware. That being said, prior to the gentleman who was before me, all those leading up to him, I would applaud every single one of them for their concerns and what they're stating. My concern is same venue, similar in nature, but of a different matter, in a different spirit, if you will. I live at the corner of 20 Drive and Trinity Drive, which no matter where you go, it's 2 blocks either from 450 or Bel Air Drive, no matter which way you're looking. And from that point forward, when you're living in that house on the corner, I've spoken with Mr. Wolfley before, Councilman Wolfley before. I've spoken with Councilman Steve. I've also spoken with Robert. Help me out here. No, he's the assistant police chief. Liberati, thank you so much. I've also spoken with Mr. Liberati accordingly, and I have begged and begged and had very significant conversation, not of outcome, but of quite substance, where we have discussed the issue of people drag racing, if you will, hot rodding around the city of Bowie, and specifically Traymore, Tawny, Trinity, and Bel Air Drive. You can hear them racing down there from as early as before 7 a.m. to as late as after 1 a.m. And I have called the city hall and spoken to the lady who could answer my question about, is there any noise ordinance issue in the city of Bowie? And she affirmed the fact that there was. And then she said something about having to go out and get a bunch of affidavits. But I don't know what a bunch of affidavits are gonna do me without people sitting there getting, evidence of something on a camera showing how fast they're going. And I even spoke to one of the council members who gave me a lift tonight because I'm no longer physically driving because of medical reasons, and they were gracious enough to bring me over, and it just, it drives you crazy because it's all day long, every single day. I've got a list on my phone here that will show when they time hit, when the prime times are, and, it will actually sound like they are actually speeding and hot riding up and down as opposed to just a general loud muffler. And, how many people feel a need for a loud enough muffler to sit there and have the entire neighborhood woken up? You wouldn't build a, you wouldn't build an airport next to the Tulip Grove Elementary School because of noise ordinance issues. For the same reason, you wouldn't allow hot rodding and all these loud mufflers and everything, and they should be banned. I'm sorry, they ought to be, not allowed, and I feel like at this point, I'm just rambling. But thank you for your time.
All right, thank you so very much.
Have a good one.
At this time, we will now move to presentations. Any presentations this evening, Madam City Clerk?
No, Mayor.
Okay. And we will also move on now to the city boards and committees, appointments and reappointments and swearing in. At this time, bear with me. Ms. Nicole Reed was interviewed on January 5th, 2026, for appointment to the Administrative Review Board. Council concurred to appoint her to the board as an alternate member for a 2-year term. I would ask that we have a motion to appoint.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move for the appointment of Nicole Reed to the Administrative Review Board.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. Ms. Carolyn Murphy was interviewed on January 5th, 2026, for appointment to the Green Team Executive Committee. Council concurred to appoint her to the committee as a regular member for a 2-year term. I would ask Councilmember Rogers to move to appoint.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to appoint Ms. Carolyn Murphy to the Green Team Executive Committee.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. Mr. Fernando Castro Gomez was interviewed on January 5th, 2026, for appointment to the Diversity Committee. council concurred to appoint him to the committee as a regular member for a 2-year term. Would Councilmember Rogers please move to appoint?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we appoint Mr. Fernando Castro Gomez to the Diversity Committee for a 2-year term.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. At this time, with those, Mr. Gomez, Ms. Murphy, and Ms. Reed all come forward, please. Please stand, we will be swearing you in. Ms. Reed, do you need a chair, or are you okay?
Oh, good.
All right. Please raise your right hands. I state your name.
Castro Gomez,
Do affirm or swear
Do affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and that I will be faithful
and I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear
to
true
allegiance
to the state of Maryland
to the
to the
state
state of Maryland,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and
for
support
the Constitution and laws thereof,
and that I will,
that I will,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best
best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
diligently
gently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without
impartiality and prejudice,
execute the office of, and state what committee you're going to be going on.
execute the office of Permanent Diversity Committee,
All right. All right. According to the Constitution
according to the Constitution
and the laws of this state.
and the
and the
laws
laws of the state.
Congratulations and thank you for joining our city in support with your volunteerism. Please come forward. Please bear with me as. Ms. Murphy?
Yes.
Congratulations and thank you. Here you go. All right,
Congratulations. Thank you so much, Carolyn. Look forward to it.
congratulations.
Welcome aboard. Thanks.
Yeah. Ms. Reed? Here you go, congratulations. Thank you for being willing to serve.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Mr. Gomez? Thank you and congratulations.
Very much. The opportunity.
Yeah, much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would love to encourage those who are here, but also those who can hear us, to know that there are opportunities for you to continue to contribute to our community. So we ask that if you have any interest, that you join some of the committees by going in first and seeing if you like them. Because you know what, it is the chance to improve our community, but also it gives you a chance to work closely with some of your neighbors and friends. So thank you again for those we just swore in this evening and for all the volunteers. We do appreciate you. At this time, we will have council announcements, and I will start off by first saying a thank you. Really hearty thank you to those who really made the Martin Luther King Jr. art contest such a success. I'd like to truly say thank you to staff, because you did a tremendous job with that. And it was beautiful to see the kids. I'd like to thank the committee as well. They did a yeoman's job on that, and it was wonderful to see all those smiling faces and all the parents. But in general, I also like to thank staff for what all of you did, because you know what, it makes a difference. And I'd like to thank Councilwoman Rogers for joining me for that experience, because it was a true celebration. I'd also like to say thank you to all of the citizens who have been participating on all of the committees. I know I just mentioned that, but we have to continue to strive to invite and engage you, to be a part of the community, to be a part of that process of what's going on. We have some very, very, very great committees, and I want to thank those who just joined again. But I do want to say, please continue to help, and please encourage your neighbors as well to come on out and join. With that, any other comments? Councilwoman Rogers?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of announcements. Again, happy belated MLK Day. I noticed that the art contest has become more creative. These kids are just absolutely brilliant. That's all I can say. And special thanks to the Diversity Advisory Committee. The Diversity Committee, I always put advisory in there, for their work along with community services. As usual, they were standing room only. I also had an opportunity to attend the Senior Center's MLK celebration, and they did a great job. They had a resident, Miss Kennebrew, who was a former attorney with the Department of Justice, Civil Division, and how appropriate to have her there now. The other thing I wanted to mention was that there was an open-air gas leak in Whitmore Highlands on Dunwood Crossing Drive from a main gas pipe located near the wastewater management area and near some local homes. I don't know what caused the leak. We don't know it, but residents informed me that it had begun before Christmas, and the smell was very strong. I live on that same street. I didn't realize it until it became extremely strong. The problem was completely resolved by January the 12th, but I've asked the city manager to invite Washington Gas to an upcoming council meeting to tell us why it took so long to find the leak, and then to communicate why it took so long to inform the community of what was happening. The third thing I have is that I had the pleasure of co-hosting the event that was mentioned earlier with County Council Member at Large Walla Blagay. It was a wonderful event, about 100 people, but special thank you to Lori Cunningham and the community services staff for their support. They were right there every step of the way. Also, thank you to Mr. Jesse Buggs and his staff for allowing the attendees to tour our new Workforce Development Center. A couple things to note from that event. Well, one thing to significantly note is that AI is the future. Our IT director for the city happened to be able to attend, so we were very helpful. We were very thankful for that. I do know that if we don't have an AI policy, we need to have one quickly. And the last thing I'll mention is I had the privilege and honor of attending opening day for the Maryland General Assembly in Annapolis last Wednesday. I was able to also attend the Prince George's delegation breakfast. And what I have with me is the legislative priorities to the General Assembly from Prince George's County government. Sadly, I don't see anything that says Bowie, Maryland, but I have it, and I will share it with the rest of my colleagues. I bought extra copies. That's it for me now, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for the time and attention.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rogers. Any other council announcements? Councilman Truesdale?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make a quick announcement, say hello to all the beautiful and wonderful people in the city of Bowie, particularly in District 3 on this cold night. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. And I do echo the mayor in taking time to honor a legacy in Dr. Martin Luther King over the weekend as the country, a great man of leadership and helped shape civil rights movement. and because of him, you know, we are better today. So just wanted to give those announcements, and have a great night. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Mayor Pro Tem Wolfie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate it. I just want to extend a thank you to the folks that came out this evening to speak regarding Tulip Grove and the speeding issues and the general neighborhood and the noise. I'll be working certainly with staff to see what we can do to bring some of those requests home. I'll work with colleagues to see if we can make some progress there. I know, looking at my colleagues, that we've definitely got, you know, a persistent problem in schools. It's not just the Tulip Grove. I know that over in Kenilworth area, there's been some issues there. And I know our staff is already working on some remediation efforts there too. So we'd like to bring those to some closure. So I want to thank you all for being here this evening and see if we can't make a difference and solve these problems.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments? No other comments, so at this time, we will move on to the city manager's report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Today, we reviewed the proposed budgets for 27 for the IT department and Planning and Sustainability Department. Also, we've already done that for the Public Works Department. And next, we have Community Services and then Police and City Manager's Office to wrap up. So we're moving right along with that. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, city manager, for that. At this time, I'd like to move on to the consent agenda. I will open the floor for motions.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second. It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. We now move on to the old business, and that's the adoption of Charter Amendment Resolution CR-3-25, amending voter registration, filing of candidacy and elections, sections 21 through 37 of the city charter. And this is open for a public hearing and is eligible for action.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. For the record, Wilder Hernandez, City Clerk for the City of Bowie. This charter amendment resolution updates the city's election-related charter provisions to better align with current Maryland law, modern election practices, and how city elections are actually administered today. Following a comprehensive review between the city attorney, the Board of Elections, and myself, recommended these updates to improve clarity, consistency, and transparency. Importantly, these amendments do not change who can vote, how votes are counted, or the nonpartisan nature of city elections. Key updates include clarifying the city voters are those listed on the statewide voter registration list with a Bowie address and who are at least 18 years old on election day. The amendments also modernize election notice requirements by allowing the city to use its website, newsletter, social media, cable channels, and municipal buildings, ensuring that residents receive election information through platforms that are regularly used. The resolution strengthens the independence and ethics of the Board of Elections by clarifying appointment timing, term start dates, and adding explicit conflict of interest restrictions. It also confirms the board's authority to conduct city elections, appointing election judges, and adopt operational rules consistent with the charter and the code. Additional updates include extending the candidate filing deadline to 60 days prior to the election, clarifying council district elections and redistricting procedures, and relocating the recall procedures to the city code to allow greater flexibility and compliance with state law. Overall, these changes modernize outdated language. They reflect actual city practices and strengthen the integrity of Bowie's election framework while preserving the core structure of our municipal elections. Some of these changes also will be better detailed in the code section of it, which should be coming before council at your February meeting for your review and comments and possible adoption. That is on my part. I'm happy to answer any questions along with our city attorney, Ms. Ruff here.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to declare a public hearing being open. Do we have anyone to speak?
No, Mayor, no one signed up this evening and no comments were received via email.
Okay. I will declare the public hearing closed. All right, as you say, though, when we talk about this, I would like to ask our city attorney, is there anything in there, I know it wouldn't be there if there was a problem with it, but is there anything that you would like to make sure that we highlight as we move into our decision on this?
Mr. Mayor, not necessarily, because we're not changing anything. We are clarifying. So a good example would be in section 21. Currently, it says every person who is registered to vote with the Prince George's County Board of Elections is able to vote. Quite frankly, in state law, it actually says everybody who's included on the statewide voter registration list is able to vote. So those are the types of changes that we made. We tried to make the charter consistent with what the state law currently says and to incorporate our current practices in here. And then the changes that you'll see that are going to be of more interest to you, let's say, might be those that are going to be in the code, which is going to be the companion legislation. So the charter is going to outline at a broad level, and then the code is going to implement them.
Right.
And so where you'll see we took out references to the supplemental voter registration list, that is a lot of what you'll see in the code. A lot of that is coming out, and that's what necessitated many changes to that. Okay. But as far as the charter goes, if you were to move through it, you'll see that there are certain just language changes that we did. Rather than every even-numbered year, we said in the year prior to the election, because it more accurately reflected when those actions would need to be taken. If you have any particular questions about an issue, I could focus on that.
Part of what I was trying to do is to make sure that everybody understood what was going on, because we moved it off the consent, we brought it back a little for us to do this. So I think between you and the city clerk and your comments, I think that gives everyone here, but also at home, a better understanding of what we're doing with that, so there's no confusion.
Well, and
Go
Mr.
right
Mayor,
ahead.
if I might add, 32A, you'll see the recall provision is taken out of the charter, and we're putting it into the code. So it's not that it's going away, it's simply being moved from the charter to the code.
Okay, thank you. All right, Councilwoman Ndamamadu.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Just a follow-up question on that point with the recall. Can you just shed some context on the logic between moving it from the charter to the code?
So the idea was that the charter is kind of your outline, your bylaws, if you will, your organizational framework. And so the ability to do recall is given in the charter, and then how to do the recall would be in your code.
I see. So to clarify, the ability still lies within the context of the charter, just the how is switching to the code.
Oh, absolutely. So if you look at it, where we've taken out the language, we've added any elected official of the city may be recalled and removed from office in accordance with the requirements and procedures established by ordinance as part of the code of the city of Bowie. So it's clear, anybody looking at the charter is going to know that that right still remains.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments at this time? Councilman DeFore Wolfie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just, first of all, I want to say thank you to the good work that you and Wilda have been doing, Ms. Ruff. I know that there are others that have been working this. Really looking forward to see the proposed changes that we're going to see next month on the code section, because I know that's where the rubber meets the road, and that's where all the details and the back and forth. So thank you very much. This looks great, and much appreciate your efforts.
Any other comments or questions? Councilman Brady?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I appreciate the clarification with regard to the recall issue. That was something that was missing for the longest time, and when I first saw that, I was concerned that we were doing away with that as a tool for the citizens, so I'm glad you clarified that. I'm curious about, actually, just to make an observation, Section 28, you're talking about going from 30 days before the election to 60 days before the election, but I find that kind of interesting because when you look at the creation of vacancies, it says that the election would occur not more than 90 days, not less than 60. So it seems to be pushing up the 60 days for the election to the 60 days for the filing, which means you're limiting people's ability to file and run for office. And technically, if you have the election 60 days out from the election, as is defined in the vacancies, you don't give anyone an opportunity to file. So it's just an awkwardness in the language, if you will. So just an observation. And then the last one is with regards to Section 33, the language that's in there doesn't address the at-large elections. It talks about the mayor with the most vote, the mayoral candidate with the most vote is declared the winner, and then it says the district council representatives with the most votes are declared the winner, and it goes on to the next section. So can we add language to this tonight, or does it need another round?
I believe you may add language to it tonight. So if you look, it says the candidate for council member for each council district.
Right.
You could add and at-large position with the highest number of votes and go on. So I think all you need to do is after each council district, add the words and at-large positions.
Okay. I had sent in suggested language that basically had an independent sentence by itself that says, where is it here? Give me a minute. The two candidates for at-large with the highest number of votes shall be declared elected as at-large council members.
That's fine as well.
So I think that would
As a
solve the
separate
problem.
sentence?
And I would add that as an amendment to this. Other than that, I think this is excellent work, and I thank you for all the effort, and thank staff for all the efforts. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions? Because I would like to just ask on a general consensus if the addition of that, what we just talked about, would be fine with all the council members. That wouldn't pose any problems, or would it? Okay. Okay. So if we could, then we can make this is eligible for action, and I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move for adoption of Charter Amendment Resolution CAR 3-25, amending voter registration, filing of candidacy and elections, sections 21 through 37 of the city charter, with the inclusion of the previously mentioned language that Mr. Brady presented.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second for the adoption of the Charter Amendment, Resolution CAR-3-25. Do we have any other questions? Discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you all for the work you put in on that. All right, at this time, we will move on to the adoption of ordinance O-1-26, amending the adopted budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2026, as embodied in ordinance O-4-25 and amended by ordinance O-11-25 and O-13-25 to appropriate funds in the amount of $47,900 for the replacement of a message board. I'll turn it over to the city for comment.
Good evening, Council. My name is Lola Ogremi, Acting Finance Director. Supplemental Ordinance O-1-26 is an ordinance approving supplemental appropriations for the annual budget for fiscal year 2026. Ordinance O-1-26 proposes to amend the city's fiscal year 2026 annual budget to provide additional appropriations for the following purposes. Asset ID 3525 was deemed a total loss in a vehicle-related accident. The replacement electronic message board will cost $47,900. Therefore, we're requesting an additional amount of $47,900 to be appropriated from the general fund balance for this message board. Insurance recoveries are underway, and after a deductible, we should receive $37,900 for the replacement of the message board. And just for you to note, the message board is located on Route 450. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Do we have any comments or speakers?
No, Mayor, no one signed up to speak, and no comments were received via email.
Okay, thank you. I declare the public hearing closed. Council, do we have any questions? Councilmember Wolfie, then Councilmember Stav,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
and Councilmember Brady.
Just a quick question for staff. The board will be, the message board, this is one at Racetrack, right? Yeah, it stops there. So if memory, and I'm sure institutional memory is there for other folks as well, if we could move that back, I don't know if it's 10 feet or 15 or 20 feet to get it out of the right-of-way for the Maryland State right-of-way, that'd be a good thing. That's all I have. Thank you. Or unless there's more information on that.
Yes, the current message board sits in the future median strip of an expanded 450. So it would be a lot further than 10 feet.
So
just sharing that, you know.
So, but remind me, I thought that we had to get a permit because it's right now within their property as opposed to just the future right-of-way.
It is in their future right-of-way. It is, yeah, it's a public right-of-way where it's located. However, that exact location that the message board is at is on the future median strip, the middle. So we'd be talking about moving it back 40,
No, I
50
understand
feet
that,
back,
but
so, yeah.
I was under the impression that it was on our property, future right-of-way, but on our property. But it turns out that it was actually on state property.
No, you have it correct. It is City of Bowie property.
Okay.
It is within the state right-of-way.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, can you remind us how this got destroyed and what we're doing to minimize the risk of this happening again?
Vehicular accident. And in reference to remedy for hopefully preventing a future incident, we're looking at landscaping around the sign that would hopefully prevent future impact.
We're talking like some big heavy rocks?
Basically.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Any other questions? If not, I'll open the floor for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move for adoption of ordinance 0-126, amending the adopted budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025, and ending June 30, 2026.
The motion has been properly seconded. At this time, I will open up for any discussion. Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you again for all you're doing, and appreciate getting this done so quickly. We're on to new business. The Department of Community Services, Sweet Bowie Honey staff will present the 2025 inaugural harvest from a local beehive to council. Hey, good evening. And you can bend it down. Yeah, there you go. Just talk right into it.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and City of Bowie residents, as well as city staff. I am Alyssa Jarrett, the Arts and Culture Program Specialist here at the city.
I'm Lexi Willems, Sustainability Planner in the Department of Planning and Sustainability.
Charlie Blevins, Park Ranger Beekeeper.
All right.
And we are here and excited to share with you the initiative from the Department of Community Services called Sweet Bowie Honey, which is an education and sustainability project that reflects Bowie's commitment to environmental stewardism, community engagement, and innovative use of our green spaces. So we'll go through what is Bowie Honey, from bees to hive, the education piece, as well as the harvesting process, and then how it's more than just honey, the final product and experience. So Sweet Bowie Honey is a city-led beekeeping initiative that supports pollinators, educating our youth, and produces locally harvested honey right here in Bowie. So a few years ago, leadership discovered that we had a professional beekeeper on staff, Charlie, just Charles Blevins. With Charlie's expertise, the city partnered to rescue bees from Baltimore, giving them a safe and healthy new home. So we have 2 beehives that were established in White Marsh Park, a location well suited due to Bowie's abundant green space and diverse plant life. So Sweet Bowie Honey represents innovation within the city, environmental leadership, and meaningful youth education.
Another big part of this project is the sustainability piece of it. So many residents don't realize that Maryland is home to over 400 native bee species. And although honeybees are not a native bee species, they're a great education tool for us to educate residents about the importance of protecting pollinators by decreasing pesticide use and protecting their habitat, including planting native plants. The city already does a lot of work on this. We have a community garden program that empowers residents to grow pollinator-friendly plants. It's completely pesticide-free at the Kent Hill Center. Community Services also does a Parks and Pals program where they are working to educate youth. And the Green Team also manages 4 pollinator gardens at the city to help educate residents about the importance of planting native plants. And pictured is a example of our Midwood Lane stormwater pond with some of those native plants. And then, there we go. Yeah, so you can see some of the native plants at our Midwood Lane stormwater pond. And then we also have some additional examples of native plants that Green Bowie and the Planning and Sustainability Department is trying to educate residents about the importance of planting. So black-eyed Susans are a very well-known one in Maryland. They're the state flower. We have the purple aster, which bloom in the fall, and they are stunning. That picture actually was taken right outside at one of the pollinator gardens behind City Hall. It was taken in November. It's quite pretty. And then the milkweed is also pretty well known. It's the host plant for the monarch butterfly. So you can see the caterpillars in the picture there. And then the tulip poplar is an example of a native tree that is great for pollinators as well.
All right, just a few facts about honeybees. Their antennas allow them to taste and hear and smell scents. They waggle dance to communicate in the hive, and I'll explain that in a minute. They make bee bread out of honey and pollen to feed their babies. And also, they do have stingers, as some of you may know. They hesitate to sting, though, because their stingers are barbed. So once it goes in, they fly away and it comes out and it rips out their abdomen, so they know they're going to die. So it's really the last alternative they want to do. So what they resort to is like flybys by your face and bump your head to kind of warn you, hey, you're going to get stung if you don't leave.
Right.
So that's how they operate. So they're also really cute little bugs too, if you ever seen their face. So the structure of the hive is, you have the queen. Her sole responsibility is to lay eggs. She's not the boss. She doesn't tell anybody what to do. The worker bees are all female. They live about 6 weeks, sadly. So the first 2 weeks, they're nurse bees and they feed their young. The second 2 weeks, they're guard bees and they guard the entrance to the hive and they patrol around the hive. And the last 2 weeks are where they go out and forage for nectar and pollen. So if you see a honeybee on your plant at your garden or your backyard, the most they have to live is 2 weeks. So they bring everything they can back to the hive for the hive. Drones are seasonal, they're male, and how they make drones is the queen will lay unfertilized eggs, and that turns into a drone. And so they have no stinger at all, their sole purpose is just to mate. That's all they do. So they start appearing around March or April, and they are kicked out of the hive actually around September because their job is done. So the ladies just kick them out, too many mouths to feed. So that's the life of a drone, you know. It's a hard life.
Yeah.
So if you ever drive down a road and you see a stack of colonies, bees, you wonder what's in those boxes, right? What is in those boxes? Well, the first 2 boxes are their babies. That's their brood. The upper boxes are where they store their honey. So parts of a hive are, the backbone of it is the frames, and I have a couple of frames here. You'll see this is a plastic honeycomb. Okay. So what we do is we put this in the hive, and then they use this as a template to make the honeycomb, the actual honeycomb. So they store their babies and their honey in this. We just do this to get them started. So, okay, I'm supposed to build comb now, so they see that. So the scout bees, they search for food, and then they come back to the hive, and then they perform what we call a waggle dance, using the sun is due north as a guide, and they actually dance on these frames in a form of a waggle. They just shake their abdomens. And so when they dance, they're actually doing a road map to where the new nectar source they found. And so all the other bees watch, and then they go out and follow this one bee, and then they have a new nectar source. So say you planted a lot of lavender in your backyard or something, and they find that, they're going to go back and dance to show the other bees where that is. All right, we talked about the honey processing. So the top frames, as I mentioned, are full of honey in the top boxes. So we carefully remove these. And so the honey inside this is all capped. It's all just a thin wax layer. So this has already been decapped, and we put it in a spinner, and it spins centrifugally, and it throws the honey against the wall of the extractor. Then the honey just drips down, and then we bottle it from there. I use a smoker to calm the bees, and there's a kind of an old wives' tale about smoke calms bees. It actually interrupts their pheromone that they send out to attack. right? So with all the smoke in there, they can't communicate with each other. They can't attack. So they see somebody lifting up the roof of their house, they're looking around going, hey, what's going on? I can't, you know, so there's no pheromone to tell them what to do, so they're very relaxed doing that. We only take the excess honey. We have to leave a lot of honey for them for the winter because obviously they can't forage in the winter. So that's what we did this year, and we had our first honey harvest in September.
So it's a small project, but with a big message that Bowie is committed to sustainability, learning, and creative use of our resources. So a combination of our parks and our staff expertise, we were able to create something that was both environmentally impactful, but also community focused. And so today, or tonight, we are excited to present to you the inaugural harvest of Sweet Bowie honey.
Hey.
Yes, we do have samples that we'll bring to you.
Yay! Y'all are a mess tonight.
Mr. Mayor, first. Look at that.
Thank you so very much.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Wow.
So we have a large bottle, a 16-ounce bottle, and we have a small one. So if you want to taste it right now, you can taste it out of the small one, so you don't have to.
Oh, I see you have it there. You know, this is a sweet surprise. And, thank you so very, very much. Do we happen to have any other beekeepers? Are you training? That's what I'm saying. You training? That's great to hear. This really is.
Are you looking to expand?
Yes, yes.
So I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, you know we have questions, right? Questions?
I just like to say the honey is really, really good.
So this
So
honey
go
is
ahead.
from White Marsh Park. It's tulip poplar honey. So we're planning to expand our beekeeping program for educational purposes. So I'm looking, I need to probably talk to Director Spurgeon first before I go off, but I have a few locations set out already. One of them is a roof of Kin Hill, so where the pollinator garden is.
Okay.
So you will hear future news about the expansion of honeybees in Bowie.
All right. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
One moment. Go right ahead. Councilwoman
So
Rogers.
how long, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So how long did it take you to produce all of these, and how many bees did you have to do it?
That's a lot of.
Let's see, there's 10, trying to count. There's about 10,000 bees in a box. So I'd say about 60 to 70,000 bees brought all this to you from foraging all year. And we had a really good year last year. We had a lot more rain, which means a lot more flowers, which means a lot more nectar and pollen. The year before that, we had a tough year. It was really hot. We had a real dry season. They had a hard time. So beekeeping is like farming. You know, you have good years and bad years according to the weather. So
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Any other questions? Councilwoman Ndamamadu?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. This is so awesome. Like, so awesome. I love this.
Good.
Thank you so much for your work. This has got a really, really nice ring to it. So are we taking this on the road? Are we maybe thinking about it Amazon, Whole Foods? Like, what are we thinking there? No?
Well, we're
Always thinking about the budget here, so
Yeah.
any shortfall closings?
We have all kinds of ideas that, you know, that where we could go with this.
Yeah, because
you know,
Sweet
so-
Bowie honey, it's,
Oh, it's
Yeah.
good. It's really good. So
Okay.
I invite you to taste the little jar now if you'd like.
I have, and it's great.
Okay. Very good on toast, very good just by itself, you know?
I think we have two more questions, one from Councilmember
Thank-
Truesdale.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Charlie. This honey, Bowie, it is sweet, so it is great. This is great. With my colleague, you know, we were trying to get a valuation. You know, he says 60 to 70,000 bees in terms of, you know, how can we make a profit as a city? Because we feel like we're on Shark Tank up here. You know what I mean? And if you need a Mr. Wonderful, you got all of us.
We can scale it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for your, and thanks, department.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
And for the last, I have a question for you. And I don't know if it's a wives' tale, one of the old wives' tale, or if it's fact. They say that local honey is good for you because it helps to protect you with local.
Correct, allergies. Because,
allergies, yes.
you know, pollen causes allergies. And so if you're building up your tolerance with local honey that has the actual local pollen surrounding you, and you eat that, it really helps with the allergies, really does.
Yeah, so I think that's an important thing as well. I think we've all had a little, lesson on what we have learned tonight about our bees. We know the impact that pollination and all of those things have on our environment as well. And so, you know, thank you so very much for coming here. Thank you for explaining it, but also thank you for being innovative enough to do this. So all we ask is if you need anything from us, in addition, I know the staff and everybody takes care of you and make sure that you have what you need, but if there's anything in addition we can do, please let us know, okay? And thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right. We will now move on to the Financial Advisory Committee. Way ahead, the Financial Advisory Committee will present on the purpose and function of the committee.
Sure.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening. Again, this is Lola Uguremi, Acting Finance Director. This evening, Mr. Carl Robinson, the Chair of the Financial Advisory Committee, will be presenting on the purpose and function of the Financial Advisory Committee. Thank you.
All right, can you hear me? All right. So first, I would just like to say good evening, Mayor Adams.
Good evening.
Council members and members of the Bowie community. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight. As Lola so eloquently stated, I am the chair of the Financial Advisory Committee. And one of the things that we would like to relay is that we're here to serve. Now, tonight is a brief discussion, but I want to introduce to you a couple of things. Well, not introduce, but give you a couple of things to think about. The original resolution, R88, that established the committee, and also the way ahead. So the goal of tonight's interaction is to gain a commitment from you as a body to review that resolution and to hopefully revise it so that you can get more out of us. This is unheard of. We're coming up here begging for more work. So the Financial Advisory Committee was established in 1998, and it is guided, thank you, by Resolution 88. I chose this slide as the cover slide because I live in Old Bowie, and I just wanted to regress for a minute. And last meeting, we talked about way ahead for that area. And I enjoy being a part of that discussion at the community level. And I thank Michael for all his efforts in that endeavor. So I thought that slide was apropos for what we're trying to convey to you tonight. Now, let's see. it says here, the resolution was established, and it's established to guide this committee, and what are we supposed to do? Establish to review and advise the city council on city's fiscal condition and related financial matters. So we take that to heart. So as we look through this document, we find that we're continually performing about 2 of these 8 kind of benchmarks, or their guides to what we should be producing. The committee is very focused on the first one, the proposed budget, the 6-year capital improvement program. We put a lot of effort into going through that document of their proposed budget and writing a letter to try to inform you. I know the last couple of years you're probably tired of seeing information on the fund balance, because we kind of hammered that home, because we are so concerned, as you are, about the welfare of the city. And you're doing a good job, but we're just here as citizens trying to give you what you need to do your jobs. So we do that, and that's a heavy lift because it's a short term, but it's a heavy lift for you as well, so we're not complaining about that. Another thing that we like doing is outreach. So when there's events in Bowie, we try our best to secure a seat, a booth, and give out literature to the citizenry, engage in some type of games with the kids, and it's all budget related. So that's worked out. But after we give our all with reviewing the budget and the 6-year capital improvement program, we then pour through the document a number of times and figure out, okay, what else can we do? What is the council expecting from us? So we go down the rabbit hole of benchmarking, then we looked at some workload performance indicators. And so we didn't know if we were just spinning our wheels. So then I asked Byron, and I wish I could have spoke last meeting, because I wanted to echo all of what you said. He was a godsend. And I'm not the type of guy to just say that. I'm gonna test you, guys, we test each other. But Byron just has a wealth of knowledge, and he could talk about budget forever. And it was just a pleasure meeting with him. And he wanted me to give this presentation in person, because I would have just submitted the documents. He said, no, man, I'm going to speak and then you speak. All right, well, just let him know that I did follow through with his request.
All right.
So we looked at grants, the grants management program. We said, well, okay, that's in here. Maybe we can help with that. And so Byron set up a meeting with the people that ran the grants department, and forgive me, I can't remember the gentleman's name. 2 of them came by, briefed us on how they go about doing their job and securing monies, and they didn't need any help, but it was just educational for me to find out what it is they did. So I said, well, Byron, what do you think? I don't want to just go down each one of these bullets and find out that we're at a dead end. And he said, well, remember, this was developed in 1998. So maybe it's time for the body to relook the document. So all this is saying the committee is very happy to serve, but we just ask that you relook the resolution. And if you're fine with the way it is, we're fine. If you want us to do a little more, we'll do a little more. And then I'll just leave you with, a couple of recommendations. Of course, these aren't set in stone, but we know that the EDC, the Economic Development Committee, is very popular, rightfully so. They do a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of good people there. And We're just here to maybe be an adjunct to any financial related issues, maybe run through us. We work in tandem. I think they're open to that. They have given us an open invitation to their meetings. And also, we present on the proposed annual budget, and maybe you want us to present on a mid-year report. Just suggestions. So pending your questions, that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilman Estella and Councilwoman Rogers.
Hey, thanks for the presentation tonight. I think one thing I might just suggest as a suggestion, I think a lot of our committees over time, their purposes change, their functions change, and also their memberships change, and along with it, their interests change. My recommendation would actually be for the committee to sit down and really think through, like, as residents of the city, what is it you would like your committee to be doing? What ideas do you have? What function do you want to serve? And maybe come back to us with some suggestions. I used to joke that all the other committees we have are there to like drill into specific issues and causes and come to us and tell us what we need to be spending more on and doing more about. And you guys were the one committee whose job was to come to us and say, we're spending too much, you got to do less, right? We needed like one voice in the room that was like really focused on the budget and the costs of all of our wonderful programs to residents. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what you have to do. And so I think what I would say to you and to all the folks who are engaged in different city committees and groups is we definitely encourage you, working with your liaison, to think through these things and not be afraid to come to us with suggestions. And if it turns out that, best use of the finance committee is just to have yet another like a public forum where residents can feel like they can come and learn more about the budget in detail and hear directly from our subject matter experts on budget related issues, and it's more informational, great. If it's you want to go to a bunch of events or organize a bunch of events and talk about where all of our money goes, that's awesome too. If you decide your one job is just to come to us and say, spend less, here's 3 things we recommend you not do, you can do that. And if you really, and genuinely, if you think the committee really doesn't have a function or a purpose and you're having a hard time getting interest, our committee is totally allowed to come to us and say, you know what, we actually think the committee's run its course, it's not 98 anymore. But we're very open to your ideas on that. And you can reach out to us, of course, anytime offline, and I'm sure we'll be happy to talk more.
Yeah,
but I'm really glad for the proactive outreach. I wish more of our committees sometimes came to us and said, hey, we need some guidance. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your service.
Yes.
We talked last week.
Yes, ma'am.
So let me just say this. Thank you for being here tonight. What you've done is what I'd like to see all committees do, which is come in and engage with the entire council to make sure that what you're doing is on target with what the council expects. So thank you for coming in here. Financial stuff is always a bit difficult, particularly for those that have a little ADD and like me, and have a difficult time focusing on numbers, although I retired from the Department of Treasury. The thing is, I think that you could add value to, and I'm not your liaison, but I do believe the outreach part, educating the community on the finances or the financial infrastructure and how things work in the city. One of the things I remember, we were talking to the city manager, maybe my first year in this position, was making the budget information more consumable by the residents, where they could look at it and better understand it. Some of that comes with technology, where they can click on something and it kind of goes down and gives you where it's coming from. But I think that your ability to understand what's going on in our finance office and then take that information and educate the community by, even setting up forums where people can come around and talk about the budget, particularly doing budget formulation when we're pulling the budget together, to educate people on what to look for or the things that are going to be discussed. I think that is just going to be like really critical for you. So any type of advisory reports, anything that you feel as if the council would need to help us make better decisions, such as your concern around the general fund, right? And any type of best practices, or even talking about alternative revenue streams like bee honey, sweet honey and the bees, or whatever. Those types of things are very helpful, and I'm quite sure your committee has that type of expertise on staff. Anything I can do to support you all, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to come over and allow you to bounce ideas off of me and chat with the little bit of information I have. So again, thank you for being here tonight. I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilmember Brady?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for coming and presenting this, and actually for what you and the committee do. I remember when Senator Peters, when he was then city council member, he's the one that advocated this, and we started off on this. And I think it was a good start, and I think it was a template that represented what we were seeing and thinking at the time. But it wasn't meant to be set in stone. And I appreciate you coming forward and pointing out that maybe 28 years later, maybe times have changed and we ought to update it. And I agree with you totally. What I would suggest is you shouldn't ask us to rewrite the resolution that governs what you do and how you do it and the points that you want to make. What I'd strongly suggest you do as a committee is go through that and see what is antiquated and can be gotten rid of, and what should be included to make it better and more either streamlined, efficient, allow you to do things, come up with recommendations and changes to the language, and then come back to us and have us say, yeah, you're right. We need to do it this way rather than that way. One example that we've here recently started talking about is the 25% threshold. Is that an appropriate number? I know back when it was adopted, it was kind of not fly by the seat of your pants, but it was the thinking was that's a quarter of the operating year is what it was thought of. And they thought that in that period of time, we'd be able to rectify and correct things if it were. Is 25% still appropriate? Should it be 35, or can it be lowered to, say, 15 or 10%? That is something that we would look to you to investigate and look at. And my colleague was talking about advocacy. I would certainly support that if you wanted to do outreach to the community to help us educate the public on the fiscal related issues with the city. That would be very helpful. And I see on the last page there was 2 points that talked about provide input for the Economic Development Committee. I'm not aware that there's a prohibition, and I know that we have committees work together, so any committee member, any committee can co-work or look to work with another committee. There's no prohibition on that. So if you feel that's an appropriate step for a given situation or a given issue, I see that you can do it without having to change the resolution or come to us. And then I thought over the years on a few occasions that the committee did come in the mid-year, or at least I remember seeing them sitting in the audience when there was a mid-year thing. So that's something that, if it's not prohibited, I strongly believe that it's something that you, in fact, as a committee can do. So I would encourage you to look at it that way. If it doesn't say you can't do it, then there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to do it. So I would encourage that. So, but again, thank you for your work on that.
Thank you for that. You remind me of something an early mentor, supervisor told me. He said, Carl, don't ask for permission, beg for forgiveness.
I would not propose that we move forward in that direction.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions before I beg for Councilman DeFore?
Yes, thank you. First of all, thanks again. Good seeing you, good chatting with you again. In concurrence with my colleagues here, there's the broader vision scope of what we want to see, folks. It's where we'd like to be, and don't be too constrained by the original bullets that kind of drove the creation many years ago. And to Councilman Brady's comments earlier, I'd raised that issue about the 25%. And I hope that got through to you guys, Lola, and, because I do think that's something that ought to be revisited, and I think that's a good value. The EDC, whatever happens to that arena, there's a lot happening in the community. If you look, for example, with the growth that we've had in terms of expansion in South Lake and in other areas, Melford turning over to part residential, there are lots of things that can look at some of those and say, is it still smart, or don't do this again, or this was a good move? Thoughts along those lines as well, kind of providing some oversight. And any major activity that's going on within the city that has any financial impact is in your purview. If it has potential to have a significant impact on our budget, positive or negative, not just costs, but also, potential revenue, we're all the merrier for that. So thank you again. Good seeing you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to just say a couple of things along these lines real quick, and not to go back through. I think you're appreciated. Your committee is and all those things, and I do think you're right. We need to go back and take a look at what we as a council believes that expansion, what we believe can be more advantageous as we do the new resolution, or if we choose to modify it. I think the other part of that is, I think the council member said it right when he said, we need you to tell us too, because sometimes the hardest thing is what you don't know, you don't know. And so we'll need you to be able to provide that kind of feedback as well. And I think the last thing I would say on that is, in general too, I would like to make sure the committees, all of the committees, understand that they can work together on projects and do things. That their input should be welcomed by other committees as well, if it's positive for the city. So I want you to know that as you talk about, being more involved, working with the Economic Development Committee and all those things, that's something we would encourage. Because the more we can do to advance our city, the better. So thank you for all your service and all you've done, and we look forward to you continuing to do that, and for us as a council to provide that kind of assistance with you about the way forward.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you. And before I leave, I just wanted to say on a less professional level, but still pertinent, co-worker of mine went to South Carolina State, and he just raved about you. So I just wanted to let you know that a lot of people, alumni, think you're doing a great job. So do the citizens here. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to the Arts Committee. City of Bowie, Poet Laureate proposal for council. Good evening. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm Kathleen Parker. I'm chairman of the City Bowie Arts Committee, and I have with me my vice chair, Shalina Hayes, and our secretary, Valerie Michaels. And we are presenting tonight our proposal for a City of Bowie Poet Laureate. And Valerie will present our presentation.
Hello, my name is Valerie Michaels. I'm here with my fellow Arts Committee, and we're starting with the Bowie Poet Laureate. Our mission here is to support arts in the city of Bowie in the form of literature, poetry, and spoken word by creating original works and leading innovative community events and projects. So the role of the Poet Laureate would be an honorary civic role dedicated to celebrating and promoting poetry, literature, and spoken word within the Bowie city. And this would not be a member of the Arts Committee. This is somebody that we would go out and find who wants to be a Poet Laureate for a year. So they would operate in partnership with the Bowie Arts Committee, and the position would be open to anyone over the age of 18 who has demonstrated background in literary advocacy and excellence, and yeah, just a history of being active in the arts. So next slide. No, it's doing something. So the duties and deliverables is through public reading and youth engagement and citywide events. The Poet Laureate will strengthen Bowie's cultural identity, and while also expanding access to literary arts and inspiring youth participation in the arts. And this would happen as readings at major city events such as Bowie Fest or Juneteenth, or at any of the gallery receptions that the Arts Committee has here. Literary programming, which would be of their proposal and their choice to work with the education system or other libraries or events around town. And then they would be able to present 2 original works per fiscal year for the Bowie Spotlight to say, our Poet Laureate wrote this poem for you. And there would be poems commemorating major city milestones and the ongoing coordination with the Arts Committee with other projects. So the eligibility for this person, as I said, they would be somebody over 18. It would be for a Bowie resident, with the Bowie Arts Committee reviewing the applications and submitting to the council and the mayor for approval and appointment. So a person that's over 18 with demonstrated literary excellence and active community arts involvement. So we're looking for someone that's already kind of integrated and active and demonstrated that they have that ability. The term commitment at this point would be a 15-month term with approximately 2 to 3 events per month, and that's availability, not a set number. They would receive an honorarium of $500 per year, which would be prorated for this first term, which is 15 months, since we are near the end of the crossover fiscal year. And that's already an approved part of the Arts Committee budget. And they would be recognized on the city website, announced via press release, and informally sworn in by the committee. Next. So the application process, they will find, they would submit an application form and a resume. They would provide a bibliography with a selection of publications. If they are not traditionally published, then they can submit online unpublished works, just to show that they have been active in the literary field in some way, because we are in a digital age and not everybody gets traditionally published these days. They would submit to us 3 writing samples so that we could see it. We've asked for less than 1,000 words because we have to read them all, and then also because a lot of the things that they would do for us are short form. And then they would provide a background of they would provide a narrative of their writing background, so what their story is and how they got into it, and a vision statement for what they hope to achieve as Poet Laureate, because they might have ideas that we haven't thought of, and we really want to see what kind of innovation they could bring. So if you have additional questions, you can reach out to Kathleen or Alyssa Jareth, who's our city liaison. And today, we are currently poised to launch the application announcement in the next Bowie Spotlight. So with your approval, we can get started on sending out the applications and finding our Poet Laureate. Thank you.
All right, thank you so very much. That was really good, and I personally, I really love the idea of the City of Bowie Poet Laureate. I think we need to recognize the talents that we have here, but also make sure that it's a thriving place for those with those talents. So I really like the idea. I think it's something that's very doable. I would ask a question, because I know you like to have people engaged in the city, but in the arts, but do you have enough room on your arts committee to have additional people join?
We have plenty of space in the Arts Committee for additional members. So the entire committee stands before you, save one person.
Okay, and the reason I say that is just so people know that they can do that, and I think that's a great way to start off and getting involved here with the arts in the city of Bowie, and also an opportunity to start showing their interest and their commitment to art here in Bowie. So thank you again, and I think that's a great idea. I would open it up for any other questions or comments from the council members. I'm sorry, I just jumped past you, didn't I? I am so sorry. Please go right ahead. My apologies.
No, no worries. I am also in support. I'm super proud of the Arts Committee for coming up with this idea and finally being able to implement it. I have been the staff liaison only for a year now, so I'm excited to see this get off of the ground. And we have lots of talented people in our city. I went to Samuel Ogle not too long ago because we have an arts grant. They are doing a spoken word workshop throughout the different schools in Bowie. So I met a teacher, an English teacher, who's a really great poet and well-known. So hopefully she will have this opportunity and other teachers and other people as well. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so very much for that. Any questions from anyone?
Public hearing, you need to do a public hearing.
I'm gonna, we can do that. That's what I'm saying. Any other questions from anyone? Because this is something we can move forward on if we'd like to. Councilman Bragg.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for coming forward with this. It's a great idea, and I share my colleagues' and staff's comment with regards to that. But I do have a couple of clarifying questions. On the terms and commitment, it talks about 2 to 3 events per month. Is that an appropriate level, and what kind of events are we talking about?
So an event would be, for example, when we have Bowie Fest or Juneteenth, they would show up and they would provide a poem and then it would read it for the audience there. And so that would maybe be a half hour, hour, depending on how that scheduling works.
Right.
To be there. An event might also be one of the literary events at a school, so they might coordinate with a teacher to do some kind of workshop with a class or student
Right.
group. Or it might just be a reading of their own material at a library. So there's flexibility for what the events are. There's also a little flexibility on the quantity because obviously some months have more events than others. And
Right.
we can't expect them to show up, every weekend for.
Right, and that's why I was asking, because the events that you mentioned were like Bowie Fest and Juneteenth and what have you.
Right.
And then the requirement for 2 to 3 events per month is 24 to 36 a year, so that seemed kind of not questionable, but challenging at times. So just want a clarification, I appreciate that. And then the second question I have, is this for one term, and then can they only do it once, or can they, if you don't have an applicant, can they continue? How would that work?
Yes, originally the thought was that they would be for a year, and then we would give them an option year, and then if they didn't want to continue for the option year, we would advertise it again. So each person would serve with one term with an option for an additional year.
Oh, okay, because I thought it sounded more like you were looking to have a poet laureate for 2026, and then another one for 2027, and another one for instead of having the option. But I appreciate that clarification. It makes sense.
And for this first year, since this is going to be a more truncated year,
Right.
that person will probably just serve, this truncated year in the following year.
Okay.
That's why we said the 15-month term.
I thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, before I go, Councilwoman Rogers.
Thank you. I loved the idea as well. I did a little research. I saw Annapolis has a poet laureate, and as well as Tacoma Park. One question, clarification. When we talk about residents that can apply, we're talking about people that live in Bowie or live and work in Bowie? Just live in Bowie or live and work?
We had written just live in Bowie and have lived in Bowie for at least 1 year.
Okay.
We have not made any thing about where they have to work.
Okay, that's
But
perfect.
they'll be working for us.
All right, thank you very much. That's all I had. Thank you. Great idea.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ndabamadu.
And thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. The one suggestion that I have that just came up, I know that you are recommending 1 year in Bowie, and there's a large portion of Bowie specifically that sits in my district that's very new, which is South Lake, and some homes haven't even been up for a year. So I wouldn't want any of those members to feel like they can't apply for the opportunity because they just moved here. I think that perspective can still be warranted of an application. So I just want to put that out there.
Thank you.
That's a valid comment.
Councilmember Truesdale, were you waving at me?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other more questions? No, back to you, Councilman Brady. I say young.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I would like to say something to my colleagues, a recommendation. I think if you ask someone to do a certain number of events or something like that, when I look at the stipend you're talking about, $500, I personally think that that's one of the things we sometimes don't do is appreciate our artists and their value. So I would really ask my colleagues, if we were to do that, that we maybe at least triple that. If they might have to do a 15-month, at least $100 a month. That might pay for their transportation to get to and from events. You know, that's my thought on that. Having said that, I will ask my colleagues if they were comfortable, and I'm just trying to get general consensus here without voting and having going on just raising it 1,500. So it's like because you said it's possibly 15 months.
Yes, just because this year will be only 3 months, so.
The 500 would be prorated for the 15 months, so 500 represented the 12-month term, and then so there would be math involved.
Excellent. So after this, it would be like if we wanted to give them $100 a month, it would be $1,200. The 1,500 is just for the first getting
first 15
started.
months.
Yeah, and that. Okay. What's your thought? Councilmember Brady.
I don't have a problem with your recommendation. I would just, we might want to ask staff to make sure to find out what may have to be done with regards to their budget or what have you to accommodate
And
that.
that'll be the next, I just want to make sure that we're online. Is everybody okay with that? Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, you know, of course, we'd have to check our line items to make sure we got the money, but if you're going to increase the stipend, you got to vote on it. It has to be a vote since it's about money and.
Yeah,
budget.
and we'll go to a formal vote.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get a consensus before we start voting and all of that and making sure that we're on the same page. And then I'll open it up for the motion once we've agreed on what we like to do. So, Councilwoman Rogers, then
Thank you.
Councilman Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So when I did my research on poet laureates, I only know the ones at the national level, but what I found is that they are basically a representative for the city of Bowie. So that doesn't necessarily mean that they speak in Bowie if they're representing Bowie. We need people out there that's going to go and tell our story, to talk about Bowie, you know, the great place that you live. It helps us in a number of ways, which includes economic development. You know, it helps us so that other communities know and understand Bowie is here and these are the things that we're doing, because I think this is a novel idea. And I know Tacoma Park is an arts area anyway, so I'm thinking, well, this is great, but it's more to it than just being a poet laureate and attending some events. It's having someone out there advocating in a creative way for the city of Bowie, so that those dollars that you've prorated and have to be spread out over, 15 months, will pay for itself in so many different ways, depending on how we utilize the person. Now, I'm not talking about thousands of dollars. I'm just talking about enough, even where maybe it's a stipend and then there's reimbursement for travel. I don't know, but I think that there's just so much more value to having a laureate, a poet laureate for the city of Bowie that we can take advantage of. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Mayor.
Councilwoman. Councilman Estelle?
I was just going to ask, how did you come up with the original proposed number? What was the rationale for that?
So full disclosure, we did ask for more money. The money we were given was 500.
Okay, thank you.
What did you want to give?
Originally, the request was for 1,000.
1,000, and remind me the term we're talking about, the period?
It was for 1,000 for 1 year.
1,000 for 1 year, and we're talking about 1,500 for 1 year?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Okay, cool.
That was for 1,200 for a year.
No, the 15
Well,
months would
they're
have been
needing
average around
1,500
625.
Gotcha.
Because they were looking like they
Okay.
would average 15 months each, right?
Sounds
Would
good.
be
With the
15 months
transition?
For this first term.
Just for the first one. So, okay, so we can, why don't we, I think we could just go with $1,000 a month. And for the first one, I mean, $100 a month. Well, I'm glad everybody's still awake. $100 a month for the poet laureate, okay? Yeah, okay? All right, people. All right, is that in general, we can agree on that? Okay. And we want to move. City manager, is there anything we would need to do to assist in doing this and trying to do it, the money, the allotment? I mean, can we just do that as we act on this tonight?
Well, you can take action and authorize this, and then it will be up to me to figure out, to go back and find out if it can be accommodated in the budget without some sort of amendment.
Okay.
So,
All right.
You gonna make that a motion? You gonna make that a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to say that. I would entertain a motion at this time.
So,
City manager, I
Mr.
think
Mayor?
we're looking for you to.
Mr. Mayor?
I was gonna make a motion, but you go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, city manager?
Mr. Mayor, yes.
Could you repeat what you said? I think some weren't able to hear you.
well, you all can make a motion and with authorizes, with accepts their proposal, and you stipulate that it's $100 a month for whoever the designated poet laureate is. At that point, I have to go back and see if we can accommodate that in the budget as, you know, from one line or another, something that's underspent or fungible.
Right.
If not, then we have to do a budget amendment and come back to it.
Gotcha.
But I need the motion and the second directive
Right.
to start the process.
Gotcha.
Mr.
Councilmember Brady.
Mr.
No, I was just gonna
Mayor.
ask, who's the council liaison to the Arts Committee? I would suggest that he should be the one to make the motion.
I defer to Wanda Rudders.
Yes.
So, okay,
I will make the
I'll make
motion
the
in a minute.
motion. Mr. Mayor, I move that we provide the Arts Committee
$100 a month.
$100 a month for the.
For the poet
what, is
laureate.
Is that what I'm supposed to be doing?
For the poet laureate
For the poet laureate
of Bowie.
of Bowie.
And
Wait a minute.
It's been moved and properly second. I will open for discussion.
Mr.
Councilmember Brady?
Mr. Mayor, the motion was to give them $100 a month. It didn't include the approval of the proposed creation of a poet laureate.
Okay.
So I think that needs to be added to the motion.
And the approval of the proposed poet laureate.
At this time, I was waiting for Councilwoman to get back. Discussion, it's been moved and properly second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries, and congratulations for getting us a poet laureate. There you go. All right, next item on the agenda is the Friendship Aspire Bowie STEM Public Charter School, and I will turn that over right now. Is there any from the council who needs to say anything?
Mr. Mayor, these are the representatives from the Friendship School, and they're gonna make a request to the council, and after they finish and you all complete your questioning of them, if necessary, Mr. Spurgeon's prepared to come up and talk about what it would take for the city, both logistically, financially, to support their request, if you all want us to. All right?
Thank you, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay, good evening. My name is Kathy Mason. I am the volunteer chair of Friendship Aspire Charter School. I'm here today with our superintendent and COO, Mr. Thong Tran. He's joining us from Arkansas today. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here, but I have to note that I'm also a farmer and I'm a bee farmer. And I was really excited to hear that Ken Hill has bees. So that just added to my presentation. Okay, but thank you for your opportunity to, for us to present here for Friendship Aspire Academy's vision for our Bowie STEM-based charter elementary school. Our goal is to bring quality K-3 education as an option that is grounded in academics, early STEM exposure, and family engagement. The proposal is centered on creating a stable, well-governed school that supports students at the critical years of learning. And we're especially interested in being on the grounds and in the Ken Hill Center because it offers the potential for community-centered shared use and long-term impact. And today's presentation is intended to share who we are, why we are prepared, and how this can be a strong partnership opportunity for the city of Bowie.
Good evening, thank you. So just want to provide you all with a brief background of Friendship. And so Friendship Public Charter School was founded in 1998 in Washington, D.C. It initially began as a social service organization dedicated to supporting children and families in underserved communities. The foundation shaped Friendship's holistic approach to education, emphasizing not only on academic achievement, but also character development, student support, and community engagement. And so over time, Friendship evolved into one of the largest, longest operating charter schools network in Washington, D.C. Now we are serving more than 4,000 students annually across 15 campuses from pre-K3 all the way up to 12th grade. The network is supported by Friendship Education Foundation, which provides academic, operational, and governance support to ensure long-term sustainability and strong student outcomes. Also want to add that Friendship has built a national reputation for excellence at the secondary level, particularly in college and career readiness. Notably, our schools in Washington, D.C. Have produced football student athletes who are recruited and drafted annually. So that's one of the big things that we do over there as well. And reflecting on the network's commitment to developing how well-rounded students who excel both academically and athletically. Also, just want to say that the expansion reflects Friendship's belief that all students, regardless of geography, deserve access to high-quality educational opportunities, supported by strong leadership, community partnership, and a comprehensive approach to student success. Also, you can see on this slide that we've been awarded a grant called the CSP, the Charter School Expansion Program, where we were awarded $2 million to go ahead and help us start the school, to go ahead and buy furniture, curriculum, equipment, STEM-related equipment as well. And so that was something that we were awarded, and that was based upon, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there were many applications, but we were chosen. So that was something that we are proud of. And then I'll turn it back to Ms. Kathy.
Okay. Well, our hope and goal is to relocate to the grounds of the Ken Hill Center. We're requesting the opportunity to relocate to the center for our K-3 STEM-focused public charter school, and eventually it's a slow growth model in which we'll eventually K-5. We believe Ken Hill is a strong fit because it can support safe, structured classrooms, student services, and family engagement. Our goal is to create a high-quality learning environment that strengthens academic outcomes while also supporting community stability. Just as importantly, we are not approaching Ken Hill as a single-use facility. We're approaching it as a shared community asset. We are committed to a planning co-use model that respects current tenants and improves how the center serves Bowie families. Okay, so why our future is bright? What makes Ken Hill truly unique is that it already holds powerful resources that can support families beyond the school day. The Workforce Training Center, the Bowie Food Pantry, and the existing television station each bring real value to the site. In a K-5 environment, these resources will not function as job training for students, but as early exposure, inspiration, and community connection. For example, the TV station could create exciting opportunities for students to learn storytelling, technology, and communication through age-appropriate education and segments. Together, these elements can turn Ken Hill into a layered ecosystem where children learn, families receive support, and community service remain active and strengthened. Okay. Thank you for your leadership, your time, and your continued engagement as we explore the future of Ken Hill Center. We appreciate the city's willingness to speak to us today and consider solutions that support students while also honoring the needs of existing tenants at Ken Hill. Friendship Aspire Academy is committed to partnership, accountability, and a thoughtful transition process that protects community services. We believe Ken Hill can become a model for how education, food access, workforce support, and media can coexist in community facilities. We welcome your questions and look forward to continuing the conversation in the weeks ahead.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Well, I will turn it to you, Councilwoman Andabamato. Any questions?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go then to Nick. You want to go? Do you want? Okay.
Mayor, so Mr. Spurgeon's section is a whole separate item on the agenda. So any questions you might have would be directed to Ms. Mason and them about the school, and then the Ken Hill portion is a separate
Okay,
item.
yeah, because I was trying to move and put them both together because it's one issue now, so we have,
So you can have the prerogative to do that. Nick, go ahead and do your thing.
yeah.
Good evening,
Councilwoman.
Mayor, Adams, City Council. For the record, Nick Spurgeon, Director of Community Services. In response to Council's thoughtful questions regarding the potential use of the Ken Hill Center to address space needs, including the idea of repurposing the facility for a charter school, staff conducted a comprehensive due diligence review. The questions raised were appropriate and timely, and they warranted a deeper look at the legal constraints, space availability, operational impacts, community use, and financial considerations. As part of that review, staff evaluated current conditions across city facilities. City Hall is operating at effectively 100% occupancy at this moment, with no surplus office space available. To confirm this, a physical desk-by-desk audit was completed at City Hall, which verified that all available workstations are assigned and in use. At the same time, just under 60 city employees, along with rotating public safety staff, are currently based at the Ken Hill Center, supporting essential municipal, public safety, and community functions, IT functions, that cannot be readily relocated without significant cost or disruptions to city services. The analysis went beyond high-level assumptions and examined deed restrictions, staffing, and work modality data, infrastructure requirements, nonprofit and community impacts, like the Bowie Chamber of Commerce and the Bowie Food Pantry, and real operational costs. A detailed memorandum and fact sheet outlined these findings, which was provided to council in the weekly packet and is intended to support an informed discussion this evening. With that context, I'm happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you. Questions?
One point I'd like to make about this is the covenants in the deed. It specifically states that if the facility is used for something other than municipal activities, the ownership reverts back to the Prince George's County Public Schools. So that's the first hurdle we'd have to get over if you all are so inclined.
Yeah.
And so, thank you.
Thank you for that. And I have some ways to look at it, but one of the things, city manager, and what I'd really like to see if staff can just do an evaluation and see if there's anywhere in the city that we may be able to assist with this.
Speaking about private facilities also, or potential?
I'm talking about more public, anything that the city can assist with in this. Well, also the superintendent, because I have a couple ideas, but I'll defer at the moment to Councilwoman Andabamato.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this notwithstanding the questions that my colleagues have, first of all, thank you both for your work. Thank you for your presentation and for the thoughtfulness to approach the city. And you put a lot of effort into your presentation in terms of thinking through how things could work. And so that's very helpful to see that you guys put that level of thought in it. So very appreciative. Then also thank you to staff and community services, because I'm pretty sure this comprehensive study or review is a long time coming. So I'm just really thankful that it was done, and it gives us enough level of context to really understand where we are as a city. Because I'm sure to many of us, some of this information was very new information to learn about in terms of the way that the city was utilizing certain buildings and the way that things were structured. And so I think just going off of what the mayor is framing, I don't really have many questions because both of your presentations are very comprehensive, but I think the intention here behind myself, and particularly for my district, because I do, just for clarity, I do have a couple of constituents whose kids attend the school. So I've gone to the town halls, I've met the parents, I've met their young scholars who are just doing amazing things at your school. So I'm very committed to supporting Friendship's path forward. Now, what I would like to see happen this evening is for Friendship and the leaders of community services to have a more in-depth and strategic conversation about, are there services, are there utilities or buildings, whatever that looks like throughout the city of Bowie that actually fit your needs? Because there are very specific requirements that you may have to operate a school in Bowie within the given constraints that you've been given by PGCPS. And so if those specific constraints can be shared with our wonderful community service department here, and you guys can put your heads together to really think through all the potential solutions that might be there throughout the city. Ken Hill might not be the answer. Land at Ken Hill for a modular could be the answer. The reality is that we just don't know that today. And so I would like to see you guys have a more intentional conversation with staff. I'm sorry, I hate that, not staff, the leaders of the department in the city of Bowie. I would like to see you have a more intentional conversation with them and work together, and then based on those more elaborate and strategic conversations, bring that back to council. And then if there's something that is needed for us to do at that time, then we can consider that. But I think at this time, based on your needs, they're very specific. They're also very time committed, and I'm sure myself and my colleagues will work on PGCPS to get some of these deadlines extended, because it's also not fair to you that you have to move so quickly within the city of Bowie. So myself and my colleagues, we can work with PGCPS to see how we can get this deadline extended, but that way it would allow you to have a more elaborate conversation with our city department, our community services department, to see if there's land throughout the city, if there's a building throughout the city, if there's some type of workaround that could present itself for the time being, and also could a more advantageous opportunity present itself. So that is what I would like to see happen tonight. Also, I will just share, for context, privately owned land in the city of Bowie is very scarce. It is very, very scarce. If you get into the weeds of economic development, which I try to recruit people to the city of Bowie all the time, so I'm always trying to understand what's available versus what's not available. The Best Buy facility is under contract. I've talked to that broker multiple times. The Giant is also under contract. Someone is going into that. So there's not a lot of options here to really be able to work with when it comes to private developers. And I think a couple of us have had conversations with different people to try to see if there are other avenues that present itself. So that's what I would like to see, and I think that just piggybacks on what you were articulating, Mr. Mayor, to just see the two parties kind of talk, put your heads together, and see if there's another path forward that we don't know of today.
Yeah, that's thank you, Councilwoman. I think that kind of does that. Councilman Esteve, you have question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'll just jump in real quick. We often talk about, how little power the city has to deal with education issues. But when we do get an opportunity potentially to bring a whole new school right to the heart of Bowie, I think that's something that we have to take extremely seriously, especially given what we know about the state of education in our community and country right now. I think that I agree completely with Councilmember Ndibumadu. I think for now I would totally support staff making sure that you guys have access to the property. You may not need all of it. You may just need some of the classrooms. I know you're planning on growing over time. So it may well be that we're able to accommodate you for a 2 to 3 year window, after which the numbers may just not work out. What I would also ask staff to consider in conversations with the school are, I know there's certain assets that are basically going to be very difficult to move. We have data centers, we have existing tenants, we have youth and family services, we have the chamber, we have a bunch of groups. What I would suggest we take a look at in a follow-up conversation after the school's had a chance to actually visit the property and see what may or may not make sense just right off the bat, is we come back and have a conversation about weighing the value of having a school here versus some of those tenants and prioritizing, how we would approach that. Are we able to keep certain assets at the school and move certain other tenants? I know that I have expressed over and over that I really think it's important the food pantry stay there. I think it's really important because they serve customers and that's where they're used to going and they feel safe going there. We need to really factor in that because there's some sensitivity there. 1, 2, we have the community gardens there, we have the recreation center. There's certain things we're going to really insist, or I'm at least personally going to insist, stay no matter what. But there may be some other things we can look at. So that's just kind of where I am on that. I don't know if that's where council is as a group, but that would be my thought going forward. And I see Mr. Spurgeon has a facial expression.
Yeah, I would like to, yes, I'd like to share one data point that I think is important. When you collect the square footage or calculate the square footage of the city utilization of a 40,000 square foot building, we're talking about 23 to 24,000 square feet is currently being utilized for city services. An additional couple thousand are hallways and non-usable space. So the remaining, doing the math, 15,000 square feet or less is being utilized by tenants. Food pantry, Comcast, Bowie Chamber of Commerce, so on and so forth. So really, when we're evaluating what can be used, that's the square footage. It's not that big. I'm happy to engage in a conversation as to how we can utilize the Ken Hill Center, but that's a very small footprint for a K through 5 VOTEC program.
May I?
Yeah.
Let's, sorry.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the property. Let's
Sure.
have the school visit. Let's open it up to council members as well to do a site visit too. And maybe we can talk through on a date that we can agree to for those who are able to attend, just workshop some solutions. While we're at it, I agree with the council member. Let's also be keeping an eye out for any other opportunities that we're aware of for the school as well, so they have some backup options.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you. You had a comment you wanted to make at this point?
I just want to let you know that we're doing in phases because it's not a straight K to 5 on the outset, right? So it's a K to 3. So we'll be building in phases at a time. And so the first year with a K to 3 model, it's about 240 students and it's about 12 to 14 classrooms. On top of that, because it's a STEM school, we definitely want to partner with Comcast, the TV station, or that, because that way it shows the educational partnership between the school and the kids and showing them how different aspects of the community may work, especially with the garden, the outside garden, teaching them about the bees, teaching them about growing vegetables, teaching about sustainability, but also at the same time with the food pantry. At Friendship, we have food pantries where we help families as well. So all these things come naturally to us, and hopefully we can actually build a partnership with you all to make that happen, because our kids, they want to see and they want to go ahead and experience these real life things. And I think that would be a great partnership in doing that with you all.
Okay. I'd like to say that there are a couple of things that come to mind. Number one, we fought very hard
Yes, sir.
to get Friendship for Bowie. That was something that we and I say because it was the council, Councilman Madu and all of us, we fought, as you remember, to get that done. And we got it. Now, because of some issues again with temporary housing of the school, that's why you got to move now. I do want to make it very known that my position on this is, number one, that we do need to make sure that they don't revoke your charter. We fought way too hard to get that. There are a lot of kids who enjoy it, but they'll be better if we get it here in Bowie. But I think we need to support that. I would ask that the council consider that we support talking with PGCPS and making sure that we let them know that we still want this charter school for Bowie that we fought for to get here. I do know that there are some potential possibilities. I talked to a councilwoman, and I mentioned about when they closed down Woodmore Elementary, they brought kids here into Bowie at a school. Well, they're building a new Woodmore Elementary, whatever they call it there. So I could see getting an extension and see about you working with PGCPS that you then take over that school once they've, moved back in to the other school. So I think there are possibilities, and I think that's what all the council is trying to say. Let's get together and people talk about it and share the insights they have and get there, and let's see what we do. But in the meantime, I would really encourage my council members to allow us to reach out to PGCPS or something and put a letter there that we still want this in Bowie. And because of what's happened with the building and all of that other things, because there are other extenuating circumstances, and I'm sorry to hear, but, that's business. That's all.
Understood.
That we make that, and we support that, and that we make a note, have staff, the city prepare something for us that we can send over to the superintendent. But I'm just kind of throwing out, we'll move on all.
Well, we'll certainly set up a meeting and where Nick and his staff can talk with the people from Friendship. And then, and see what's feasible on that property at Ken Hill, considering the fact that, the council wants to maintain the operation. I mean, we got community, we got our council is over there, we got the chamber and some other entities, and of course, our IT infrastructure is just tremendous there for all our backup servers and all that. But I know I spoke with the representative the other day, and they mentioned the portable buildings in somewhere on the property, which is maybe feasible. We'd have to really take a hard look at it and see where the gardens are and all those things. But we'll certainly have a conversation and come back with something a proposal that you all can accept, but it may cost us something if we do it.
Okay.
In a budget cycle, that's going to be rough.
Gotcha.
Okay, just for the record.
Thank you, City Manager. Yeah, wait, let me go to Councilwoman Rogers, then we'll go to Councilwoman Ndabamadu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So first of all, I want to say that Kathy Mason is the hardest working woman in Prince George's County, and you have a lot to be proud of. Everyone I spoke to said they had already spoken with you. So you have gone out and you really covered your ground. So let me just say a couple things. First of all, I did speak out to the chair of the Board of Education for Prince George's County. I reached out to him and requested an extension for you all. Now, I have not heard anything back, but I think it's unfair and unreasonable to give someone a short window of time to relocate your school. I don't think that's fair. So anyway, I will follow up with him. I know the city may be doing stuff. I'll follow up with him, and I'll also follow up with our school board representative for this area, because that's just not fair that they did that. So that's number one. Number two, the reason why I know you talked to everyone, because I met with 3 developers. I had to put my paperwork in now so people know I talked to them. And all 3 knew you and had talked with you. One being Mill Branch Crossing with Bill Chesley. He said he could give you a space. He said, but it would take him 2 years to put it up. I mean, he's available. I talked with Gary Michaels, and he said, 25,000 square feet is, $30 million. That's why I sent you a text and asked, well, what's the minimum space requirements that which you may have? I talked with Andrew Roud. He said, well, I don't have 25,000 square feet. I have like 2,000 square feet. So I don't know if that would work for you for the interim. I just don't know. They're all within the Bowie municipality. I reached out to a pastor over in Old Bowie that has a church and a parsonage that she's trying to rent out. And I said, okay, I don't know any square footage, and I don't know whether or not this would fit, but it's a big facility. So I reached out there. We have a ton of acreage over on Church Road that has nothing on it, that I don't know if it could accommodate temporaries, but it's within the municipal boundaries of Bowie, am I correct?
Yes.
So we have that there. I guess the thing is, I've been wrecking my, brains trying to see what else is out, what's out here that's available to you, and I will continue to do that. But I think, first of all, we have to ask the county, the Prince George's County Public School System and the Board of Education to be more considerate of the position that they've put you in, and it's not fair. It's not fair. I have one question for you in regard to your enrollment. So how many, and I know that it's going to be another open window or whatever, how many kids do you have enrolled? And what's your projection on how many will come into your program come the deadline mid-February for kids to enroll? Because I think once you know that, that would give you some indication of the square footage that you would need so that you can plan and prepare better. So do you have any idea?
Yeah, so our current enrollment is about 127. And come next year, we're looking at 240 students, K through 3. We do have a facilities planning manager who is working with us on the exact square footage. We need around 25,000 to 30,000 in a feverish attempt before I bother you find people at 10:30 tonight. I've been working for the last couple months, as Councilwoman Rogers stated, trying to find commercial space. To no avail have we found anything. We've asked everyone, and I think that the last resort was, okay, let's just ask the city council, let's just ask the city, do they have just land maybe where we can put modulars while we figure out a permanent location. As you said before, we are in a special situation, a predicament where they're telling you have to be in Bowie. And so a lot of people have a Bowie address outside of the city, but it's not the city of Bowie. And again, I want to be in the city of Bowie, especially now that I know you have bees. So, so 25,000 is the square footage we're looking at, 25 to 30,000. And next year, it's going to be 240 students. Is that correct?
Okay, let me ask you about funding, because you talked about the 1.9 million that you have available in a grant from the city. How do you get the other resources to aside from per pupil funding, how do you get the resources to buy a building or to make sure that you have enough to sustain you as you grow the school?
So the CSP grant has helped us with furnishing the school with technology and all that kind of stuff. So in your question regarding buying it, then we're going to have to look at fundraising, because at the end of the day, buying a building or building a building is going to cost millions of dollars. That's not something that we as a school, a brand new startup, have. So that's something that our board has worked on over time. Again, this is just the beginning, but that's something that we have thought about as we put foot in Bowie.
Okay, do you have benefactors? Do you have people that you can resource to go to help sustain you through this initial phase?
So in the initial phase, the CSP has helped us. For example, when if we get a building here, the CSP will help us to move all the furniture or the equipment from one building to another.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, they could potentially help us with some modulars, and that's where we're going so far. So.
Yeah, and just to speak on the modulars, with our facilities planning, we already have a relationship with the modular company. It won't be the first time that Friendship or schools that he's worked with has used modulars, and they're really nice, like state-of-the-art modulars. So we have already space planned for that. That's why we're looking at the Ken Hill location in particularly, because it has the infrastructure, the water, the sewer, the electricity, everything can be tapped. So that's one reason why we looked at it, and also has parking lots. That's why that location was most appealing, because all the infrastructure is there, and that's the expensive part. The modulars would be leased per month, and that's a model that seems to work with other charters.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilmember Brady.
Thank you. Excuse me. I was going to have some specific questions. You answered some of them with regards to population and your square footage. But I'm intrigued with the end of the discussion you had with my colleague, Councilwoman Rogers. Forgive me, I'm having problems talking. With regards to modulars. And it immediately came to mind about 3 different possibilities if you went down that avenue. One would be at Ken Hill, rather than the facility itself, use some of the field in order to do that. I think staff had made a recommendation or just reference to the Best Buy, but we know it's now under contract. I can tell you a school in the middle of a parking lot with asphalt all the way around it is a bad idea. When I was in middle school, junior high, we had basketball courts on the parking lot, and when you went down and scuffed your knees on the asphalt, it hurt. So I wouldn't encourage that. But I'm thinking if you are receptive to the concept of using modulars, that is one location. The second one is, as my colleague mentioned, Church Road, just north of 50, where we had we're going to have the ice rink. It could be cleaned up and done. But there's an issue with utilities getting there, so that's a problem. The third possibility is actually another Board of Ed property, and that is the high school property that's opposite where the Andy Brown is at Allen Pond. It's, I think, 17 acres, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly the total acreage, but I know there's 7 full athletic fields there.
Right.
There's established parking. Just to the south, I believe it's Angel Lane, Angel Road, something along those lines. There's WSSC, water and sanitation.
So the utilities are readily available at that site. So there's the possibilities that we could find a site for your modulars that would accommodate you and solve the issue that you have with regard to getting to the city of Bowie. Now, the reason I think that is an inviting solution to the problem is with regard to Ken Hill, staff has presented a significant dollar value that could be impacted. And, you know, here lately we've been talking about the budget, how times are tight and, you know, we need to stretch our dollars. To end up having to spend a lot of money in order to relocate our services to accommodate you, I don't think it's fair to the citizen. I agree totally in doing everything we can to help and assist you, trying to get this county to extend the deadline by which you have to relocate to the city. But I also have to bifurcate the issue and say I need to be careful with the impact it has on the citizens and the tax dollars. So you have to understand the very delicate balancing act, if you will. So if you are amenable to the aspect of using temporaries, then I think we have 3 possible locations, and it's a matter of figuring out which one is the best one with regards to setup, connections to utilities, and things like that. So I would encourage a continued dialogue with the city staff on all possibilities, not just that one only, but all possibilities, and look at, can that solve your problem in the quickest and easiest and most efficient way to do it, and then move forward from that. And I think you get strong support from us up here in order to help you achieve that. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Enda Mamadu.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all the thoughtful additions from my colleagues. A couple of thoughts. The first one is this, I'm very happy that this issue has come forth because it's forced us to take a look at pretty much facilities across the board in the city. So I am going to recommend to my colleagues during this budget cycle, it might be worth us looking at a couple of things. Number one, future of work in the city of Bowie and getting a policy around that and what that looks like. That's number one. Number two is around the utilization of our facilities. To my surprise, Ken Hill was occupied with majority city use. And so that was very surprising to me on my 6 years being here on council. So if that building is going to be used for those purposes and that reason, then we need to retrofit it for such so that it can be an amenable environment for our wonderful employees who are working here in the city of Bowie to do the great work. So we just need to get that set in stone and just move forward with that being what it is. Number three, the clause. The clause is written in a very particular way that was written in 1978, to be precise, where it needs to be updated anyways, because technically that would mean the whole building is operating unfeasibly. So it's just forced us to do other things. And I'm saying these, the list of these items so that my colleagues and I can have a very thoughtful conversation during the budget cycle just about facilities in general and how we're allocating facilities. What does our workforce policy look like so that we can get that set in stone so that we can understand how our facilities are being utilized across the board. And then the last part is, Mr. Mayor, if you need a motion, I'm happy to make a motion at this time, basically that couples all of these suggestions that were made, which is, one, getting a letter of support out to PGCPS for Friendship, just to reiterate that we do want the school in the city of Bowie, so our superintendent and the board, our school board, understand that we do want this school and they do need to get more time to be able to sort facilities and things like that. So a letter to PGCPS, that would be number one. And then number two is that Friendship, we all seem very committed, and with the suggestion of modulars, I think that's a great idea. That's a great workaround for our young scholars here in the city. So if the motion would also include Friendship working with staff to look at other properties, other locations within the city of Bowie, like we talked about Mitchellville Field could be an option, Church Road, who knows, but look at working with staff to assess all of those potential options, allowing them to walk the grounds of Ken Hill to really understand if that's feasible for modular and to do that assessment for us to really get a concrete plan of action as to what needs to happen with this school. Okay. So that would be the motion entirely. Okay. So do you,
Thank you. I just want to see if anybody else have another comment. If not, before Wolfie.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for all the good work that you do, and we really appreciate the notion of having you here in our community, serving our students, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. We do find ourselves between a rock and a hard place we obviously have some structure issues within the lease or the ownership of the property and what we're allowed to use it for. But I think that working together, we'll be able to figure out something somewhere, somehow. We just want to kind of reiterate our support for you, even if we don't have a lot of things that are readily apparent at the moment. And this is a genuine problem for us because that was actually probably a couple of weeks before your issue came to light. I'd been speaking with Mr. Spurgeon about somebody else who was grousing that they didn't have access to facilities that they wanted, and why can't they use it? And we're like, I don't know. Well, it turns out it's all full up. And I think that this is something that, if there's extra time that can be gained before the deadline to make it faster. I mean, we have an ice arena that's vacating. There may be, so that becomes space. Things start to become fungible, not necessarily, maybe not in that building, but someplace else. But it gets to that issue of, can we get some extra time? And that's probably the most likely successful path for us all, is if we could get a little bit more time to collaborate on a artful solution to the problem. So thank you.
Okay, I think we've all shown a passion and a desire to continue to support our children, our kids, with good education and alternatives. And so having a STEM program, I think we all are on the same page. I think, Councilwoman, anyone would like to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for staff to write a letter to PGA CPS reiterating our support and requesting more time for for Friendship to work on relocating to Bowie, and for Friendship to work with staff to identify the appropriate next steps and workaround solutions.
Second.
There you go. Thank you.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Councilman Staff?
Recommended possible amendment if staff needs it. Do we need to specifically say, please find a date with the school to visit Kent Hill, invite council members? Or you got the instruction? You got the instruction, cool, we're good. Second, then on the
We've got
motion.
the instruction, and we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
And when we set the meeting up, you all we'll invite everybody who wants to come.
Gotcha.
This letter, is this a letter that you would sign, Mayor? The
I didn't
letter.
hear you.
The letter.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Got it.
All right, it's been moved and probably second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries.
I appreciate it, you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is our economic development discussion. Council and cities, economic development policy and creating a city economic development corporation. Council may authorize a contract for consolidation of economic development policy and document. I'd like to start this off by saying I believe do we have a presentation from staff? Or can I just go into
Oh,
where we are?
Mr. Mayor, no.
Okay, well, we're good.
We don't. We're waiting.
We're good.
We're
Look, in listening to and talking about what we're trying to do with economic development, I think we're all on the same page. And what I mean by that is I think we all agree that we need to develop a structure for our economic development. We want to devise a agenda of what we want to accomplish with that and how we'll do it. Now, one of the things that I'll just kind of cut to the chase in saying that I believe what we can do is work with staff to look at what we want to decide to do as a collective, the council. I'd like to see us be able to take those economic development studies we've done before, bring those together, and look at getting someone to start on that economic development trail and probably set aside, go ahead, City Manager.
Well, just to make sure we're focused here, the issue of an economic development corporation was presented by Mr. Brady, I think 4 or 5 months ago. And there was a vote of 4 to proceed with that. We identified, and this is a very narrow niche, as the kind of people we would get to tell us in the state of Maryland what it would take for the city of Bowie to set up an economic development corporation, separate but connected to us and with some funding. And then there were, while we were in the process of identifying that person, other questions were brought up, I thought, by the District 4 representative about what we should do and how we should do it. So what we, the staff, knew, we've identified this person, but before we get this consultant working to identify that, is that what the council wants to do? Do you want us to have somebody develop a plan, a functional plan with a checklist that said, here's what you do to set up a corporation, or something else? That's what we need to know right now, and that's what I need to know as
And I think speaking from me, I think that's great. I think we need a plan for economic development. And we need somebody to start off with that, get the ball rolling. We will have to define those things. As we go along, we pull the old stuff together as well. and we allocate some funds just to get somebody started in helping us with that. I will open that now to any other council members who have anyone to discuss anything? No one? Councilman Brady? Oh, Councilman Andy Bamadu? Councilman Truesdale?
I'll defer to my colleague.
You would defer to your colleague? Okay. Yeah.
Oh, you have something to say? I can say something, but I didn't have anything in particular.
No, we can do a motion now if you'd like, you guys.
Okay,
would
so
like me to
let me
open
just
it for
ask a
motion.
I understand, let me just, oh yes, let me just ask a clarifying question before I go into it. Thank you, I understand what you're hinting at now. First off, when we say, this individual would, okay, never mind, I think I'm answering my own question because you would need clarity from us. Okay. Thank you so much for the floor, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate my colleagues deferring to me. Essentially, when this agenda item came up, I had spoken to a couple of my colleagues around what it could look like and what some of the recommended studies have recommended to us in the city of Bowie. To be precise, we pretty much looked at 4 different studies. One that was conducted in Old Bowie, South Bowie Revitalization Committee, one that was also done by Margrave Strategies back in 2022 or 2023, and then the 4th one that was just given to us recently by ULI. My colleagues up here have a document which I have prepared, which I will be prepared to present during the next council and go in depth for the community to be able to see. But for those of you in District 4, you've already seen this document. And basically what it does is it goes through a high-level framework that summarizes all these 4 studies that we have gotten. Across these 4 studies, there's been a very clear theme and clear consensus, which is what Bowie's economic advantage is, which is the ability to convert proximity to federal employment centers, higher education, and regional transportation corridors into employment-led redevelopment that generates durable jobs, attracts private capital, and expands non-residential tax base. Outcomes that the state prioritizes but cannot directly execute at the municipal level in every municipality. The first, I'll just kind of summarize because the document is quite long and we'll go through it in depth next time. But basically, across these 4 studies, there's been pretty much 5 consistent themes. The first theme being Bowie's structure is pretty much over-concentrated on residential revenue, which is something that we've talked about consistently and we all know. The second one being that economic opportunity is constrained by fragmented execution capacity, meaning that we don't have the execution capacity as a city to basically go out and do aggressive deal making or aggressive recruitment when it comes to certain development parcels that are coming online. Number 3 being anchor assets are strategically positioned but operationally under leveraged. So across these 4 studies, Bowie State University has come up a couple times, Bowie Town Center, which we've talked about and referenced this evening, and key transportation assets represent significant economic anchors for the city of Bowie, but remain under leverage. The 4th and the 5th being future growth requires an employment-led development model. So really being aggressive in having a employment-led development model than just solely focusing on a retail-centric development model. And then the 5th one being external capital and state partnership being essential for us right now. So with those key themes in mind across those 4 studies, I basically took some more thought and said, okay, what could the mission of an economic development corporation look like? And not really the mission, but rather the goals. If we are going to establish an economic development corporation, what do those goals look like? And for me, it was pretty simple based on these studies. Those goals really meaning growing the non-residential tax base and expanding employment-led opportunities, because that's been the key feedback that I've heard and key feedback that I've seen across these studies. I took a stab at what a preliminary focus could look like for an economic development corporation should we look at establishing one based on the recommendation of these 4 studies. And I'll just run through them really quickly. I won't expand on them, but I'll just high level. Oh, okay, then I'll just move on to the next area and just go through it in depth. What I do think on behalf of District 4 that I would recommend to my colleagues is basically voting on the establishment of the city establishing an economic development corporation, as we have been talking about it for a couple of months, and then attach a dollar amount that we would need from the state to be able to make sure that this economic development corporation is at least well-funded. I do propose that we ask for $4 million from the state, and I think there are various ways that we can approach this, whether that's looking at housing, economic development grants under housing at the state level, or Department of Commerce. But there are key things that the state is funding in session right now that kind of dovetail to this $4 million number, and key programs that could be established attached to this $4 million number. So that's my recommendation to my colleagues. I'm open for discussion, and we'll be ready to present this more formally during the next council hearing. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I had to pull out my notes here. So I will reflect back on us trying to get the council together to meet on economic development that was initiated by Councilman Brady back in the late summer, early fall. That didn't work out too well. But let's get back to what I have in front of me now, because I think we're saying the same thing. It's just being, I don't think people are listening to what we're saying. So the first thing, I'll go back to the new business, the memo from the city manager that talks about Councilman Brady actually proposing to have the staff draft a citywide economic development policy framework using the 2022 Economic Development Strategy and Action Plan as a starting point. Then when I look at Councilwoman Enda Roxy, when I looked at her document, what she did is that she took, and I apologize for I didn't pronounce your name right, I'm sorry. But what she did was she went through a series of economic development studies that had occurred, and what she was able to do is identify 5 things that could happen. So I see that what she did is probably what Councilman Brady was requesting as far as a framework, because what it did, and I've been looking at these documents for the last couple weeks, what it did was kind of put together everything that we had received from all the different studies. And as someone that's just been on the council a couple years, it has been to me very disjointed around the different studies and how they all come together. So what I believe we can do is move forward, and we're going to be moving forward in the same direction, because I think the same thing has been asked, although it doesn't seem like maybe it has been articulated very well that way. But when I look at Councilman Brady's original request, he says assess the creation of an economic development corporation after we identify the action plan as a starting point, return with objectives and implementation steps. So that would be the next step to those 5 key elements that came out of all those studies. Look at the pros and cons, potential stakeholders. So there's another step that we have to go through. But I really feel very strongly that both council members are moving in the same direction. One, and actually what Councilman Brady has requested may be somewhat in this document based on all the other studies that were performed. So that's what I wanted to say. Just looking at this, I think we're all going in the same direction. I just believe that if we're going to do this, we have to commit to it. And Councilman Brady tried to get it started. I know we had our economic development department that set up sessions and tried to get people engaged. I'm not sure if the sessions were the right types of things to do, but I think that we really do need to start having working meetings on this, make a decision on what we're going to recommend as far as a placeholder amount. I'm not going to fall on the sword for an amount, but whatever we deem appropriate as a consensus, and let's move forward with this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman. I think that was a good summation. Councilman Brady. Would you like to comment at this time?
Well, I had prepared remarks, but I'm not going to go over them. Just a couple of things. I stand by the original comments and motion that was made in November. I think we need to move forward on economic development, and believe me, this goes back 30 years. We've been kicking the can down the road for a long, long time. And this is something, when I got it back on the council, I was trying to push. Unfortunately, I would respectfully disagree that those sessions were appropriate, not inappropriate. The problem is nobody showed up. And that's been kind of the story of this council. We're 2 years in and we haven't adopted our strategic plan. We are 2 years in and we have not adopted our rules of order. It's upon us to start acting appropriately and getting these things moved. I'm included in that, so it's not that I'm criticizing my colleagues separate from myself. We all contribute, or we have the lack of contribution on that. With respect to the creation of an economic development corporation, that is the first step that we need to do before we can move forward, because we need an entity that can leverage, can accept money from us and leverage it to get matching grants and what have you to move forward with enticing companies and incentivizing people to come to the city of Bowie. So that is the first step, and what I was looking at doing was suggesting that through the process of the upcoming budget, we include the creation of and a funding of $250,000 as a starting point. That's the starting point of a multi-year, if not indefinite, process, which we will be revisiting each year through the budget process. It also is a avenue by which, if he is successful, we may be able to get a matching grant from the state, which will come through the city to the Economic Development Corporation once it's up and running. And every indication is it'll take about 6 months to go through all the legal processes of setting it up. So that 6 months would be after the end of the legislative session. So the method that our delegate is looking at would accommodate that fact. With regards to the 5 bulleted items, it's long been known, and it's always been known, that we have an excessive residential tax base carrying the burden of the work of this government. That's because Bowie was set up as a residential community, a bedroom community for the district. We are totally different from Annapolis, from Gaithersburg, from Rockville, that has a more diversified tax base where they do have a higher intensity of institutional and office and commercial and what have you, and less dependent on residential. We are constrained because we are pretty well built out, and we have kind of constrained ourselves previously with restrictive growth boundaries, which I think we need to revisit, because the only way we're going to be able to expand ourselves is either redevelopment residential portions of the city into commercial, industrial, and educational, or we look at the land that surrounds us and are there opportunities where we could possibly annex land in and work with the county and with developers and potential prospective users of the facility to change the zoning where we can get more of what we want, which is less residential and more commercial and industrial. So I would say 4 of the 5 points that were made are well-known, well-established, and they're limiting factors that we need to deal with. But the starting point is the establishment of the Economic Development Corporation. The second big item is I think we really need to hire a professional that has experience in doing master plans and dealing with zoning and planning, especially in this county, in order to develop a master plan for Bowie Town Center, because that is kind of the gem of the city, and we had a great envisioning document that was provided by the Economic Development Committee, but they that document is not a really sound and fluid document that we can use to go to park and planning, or we can use to sell it to a developer or an industry or what have you. We need something that looks at the code, looks at how we can do things. So we need something formal that we can use as leverage to move forward on that. And then the last part is we need to have an economic development policy for the whole city where we can try and help out and benefit those smaller shopping centers and what have you that are struggling through a vision that includes them not just emphasizing Melford or emphasizing Bowie Town Center. So that's the three-pronged approach that I had suggested in November, all centered around the establishment of the corporation. And one additional thought on the corporation is, as I said, you know, we started off and then we would expect them to kind of beat the bushes and try and get additional funding in order to leverage. But also, I think one of the things they need to do is start organizing and basically working on trying to get the county to address the abysmal problem that we have with regard to the zoning and planning process, with regard to the permitting process, with regard to the licensing process. And it's maybe something that we either take in-house, if we get some of the legislation passed, or few people probably know this, but in 97, 98 timeframe, we actually had a contract with Prince George's Police Department where we paid for 5 police officers that were dedicated and under the control and assignment of the city manager. And we kind of considered that as our own police department. And it helped, but the similarity would be maybe if it's a licensing issue, maybe we set up a similar arrangement with the county where there's however many licensed agents that we need to accommodate what's going on in Bowie would be paid for by Bowie and controlled by the city manager. Or the same thing with the permitting process. So there's a creative way that we may be able to address this hurdle that we have. And if you talk to developers, they're not wanting to come to Prince George's County because of the bureaucracy and the paperwork and the delays that occur in the process of moving something through the development pipeline. So those are all the things that I think we need to look at, centered around the establishment of the corporation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments at this time? Okay. What have you taken from this conversation that you will do for, no, I'm being serious.
Okay, well, we staff didn't take any action because there seemed to be competing interests and desires associated with economic development. And that was an impediment for us to get a professional to come in and do the Economic Development Corporation. So what I'm taking right now is that the action that Mr. Brady proposed and was voted on by the council to come up with a plan that tells us how to set up an Economic Development Corporation is still in place, all right, unless I'm wrong. And also, you know, the idea of coming up with a city policy on what we do. So is that still the case or is it not? Because right now, that's what I got. But if we're gonna,
Even though we've gone back and forth, Master, what is your note? Go ahead, Councilwoman, please.
On behalf of District 4, we are in the age of AI. I don't understand why we're hiring somebody to tell us how to establish an economic development corporation. And my comments are not really directed at staff or anything like that. It's just more so, are we going to establish one or not? Do we want to establish one or not, and establishing that intent? If the answer is yes, then we need to make that definitively clear. Then, so staff can go forward and hire whatever consultant they need to actually go establish the corporation, and we have a timeline as to when that will be established. Okay. Then my second point is, then the other part about it is, yes, economic development policy, but it was also very clear to me in the documents that we received in tonight's packet that staff is recommending, or what I understood was to be hire a consultant to establish the policy. And so I guess I'm just not understanding why we need to hire all these different consultants, and it doesn't seem like we're landing on a decision on what the path forward is. So are we establishing an economic development corporation or not? And if we are going to do that, then let's do that, and then associate whatever dollar amount we're gonna ask the state for, because I personally am not willing to stay silent for another session, another year where money is being allocated across the state of Maryland for different revitalization initiatives, and then we don't ask for anything. So with that being said, I do have a question for staff. My question is for Mr. Buggs specifically in grants. Mr. Buggs, are you prepared to speak this evening? Is that okay? Okay. I mean, I see him in the audience, so I can ask a question. My question is, at a high level, Mr. Buggs, thank you for being here this evening. At a high level, what do you see happening across the state of Maryland? Are different things being funded for economic development? Like, can you just give us a deeper understanding from a grants perspective of the money that's kind of flowing across the state of Maryland for different revitalization or community development type of initiatives that are happening under the breath of whether that's economic development, whether that's housing, just from your perspective in grants?
Well, thank you for the question. The landscape is broad. The current governor has invested a lot of money, majority of the money for community revitalization, which includes a lot of money going to the business sector within the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. We have seen in the last session where they have provided several $1 million to about 35 different communities across the state for community revitalization initiatives. About half of it went directly to business development and formation through several initiatives. Now, without us having either land control or clear policies or those kinds of things in place, it's very difficult to pursue those funds, and so we did not go after those funds this time. But it is clear that this governor has put in place, and the legislature has agreed, in even the last session, to create about 15 new programs, and about 8 to 9 of those are all within the Department of Housing and Community Development within the state. So they fund a number of initiatives, a lot of which are what you're describing and discussing. Of course, the bond bill process through the state legislature always provides an opportunity for capital projects like the purchase of land and other initiatives. One of the problems, of course, that we've had in the past with some of our delegates at the legislature is that they've gone to and gotten money for projects on city property that they have promised to nonprofits and others to conduct. And since that's not possible, we don't take money, the city doesn't, cannot take money and give it. So we've had to go back the following session to have them redo it and give the money to the city so that we could conduct these projects. So depending on the strategy, the approach, there literally have been put in place over the past few years a number of projects and programs where we can accomplish pretty much everything that's being discussed, but you need clear policy, clear direction, and clear and specific target areas that you work on. No one likes the confusion of a shotgun type approach. So what we need to do is be clear about exactly what we're doing, have an analysis of what the expected outcomes, that kind of thing. And the resources are generally there. That's why a number of people ask me all the time, we see Laurel getting a certain amount of money. Well, Laurel's demographics and everything are a lot different from ours, but some of the things are similar. Hyattsville, even University Park, and Riverdale Park, and some of these places that are smaller who have some similar characteristics. We're in a position to go after a number of those things, to support both economic development and neighborhood revitalization simultaneously. So the resources with the proper direction and guidance are there. And as you know, as you were saying, Bowie is unique. We're larger than all the rest of them, and therefore we have a lot more capacity. In general, we have shortcomings in other areas, but we have capacity in general to pursue a lot of different projects, as we have done. I mean, literally, we are the flagship entity
for almost all of these things, workforce development, excuse me, and other matters. So we're in a prime position to go for some of these programs. But the majority, like I said, for almost everything you're talking about, rests within Department of Housing and Community Development. We have some through TEDCO that are limited, in a certain direction. But we as the city of Bowie have done very well every time we've gone for these funds, but we've been clear in our objectives and our goals of what we're trying to accomplish.
Thank you, Mr. Buggs. That was very comprehensive and very helpful. My ask to my colleagues is to make a clear decision tonight. If we are going to move forward with the intent of establishing an economic development corporation, and then secondly, align on a monetary amount this evening that we can put as a placeholder so our state delegation can submit language that, contingent on the establishment of an economic development corporation, the state can award X amount of dollars that the city is asking for the programs under this economic development corporation. The last thing I will offer before I turn it back over to the mayor is asking for a number under $1 million is laughable. We have a $131 million budget. If I'm at the state and you're asking me for $100K, I'm laughing, because that just doesn't make sense for a city of our size with a $131 million budget. So it needs to make sense. And if the state, in the concept of negotiation, it's always been go high so they can go low. So if the state comes back with a lower dollar amount, that's fine. I'm not necessarily tied to a dollar amount, but I'm just saying make it make sense and make it wise so that we could at least get something out of this session, possibly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Anyone else, any other comments before I'll let you go first.
I'll be
Go ahead,
extremely
Councilman
quick,
Fair.
sorry. No, I appreciate the conversation. I know economic development is tough because we have so little power, and yet we often catch so much of the flack for stuff that goes on that's not necessarily always in our control. All that being said, I do think as far as dollar amounts, I would just encourage continued close back-channel collaboration with our state lawmakers, because they're going to be in a really good position, especially as they're learning more about their budget situation, to advise what might make sense, specifically advising who to talk to, what amounts, and what specific requests we ought to be making. Those are my only 2 cents on this. This is going to be a tough budget year. Doesn't mean we shouldn't be asking. I would just encourage the continued back-channeling so that we're being very strategic, as the council member is suggesting.
Any other comments? Question? Councilman Brady?
I would remind everyone, whenever we throw these numbers out, and the reason, actually, let me start off. Sunday I met with Delegate Waffle, and we discussed this number, and he was talking about 250,000 to 500,000 coming to Bowie for the establishment, and more or less a matching. He said probably 250, and he had no problem when I suggested 250. And the reason I don't go for $1 million or 10 million or 100 million is because that number shows up in our next budget. And we need to balance the budget, including the money that might go to the EDC, Economic Development Corporation. So it's a trade-off, and we have to be responsible with it. And we've been talking about the impact of the economy with the tariffs, with inflation, having negative impact on our ability for the coming budget. So it's just a matter of trade-off. I mean, if you want to make it 500,000, I don't have a big deal with that. Going any higher than that, I've got reservations because of the impact it may have on the budget. So it's not an arbitrary, and it's not a laughably low number. It's an appropriate one given all of the constraints that we are facing. So I would suggest that we start it at 250,000, and that's the end of my comment.
Dear council members, we're trying to find a line here. Go ahead.
Just clarification. So if we were to go in with a higher amount, like $1 million, now how is that for a placeholder? I don't understand how that's reflected in our budget. I don't understand how it becomes a problem in our budget. Maybe somebody can explain that to me.
Well, if whatever we get in revenue has to be reported in the budget for the fiscal year we got. I'm not saying it produces a problem, but it has to be accounted for. Just like all the other monies we get all in the revenues we get. We get 49 million or so from property taxes, we get some from state sales taxes, and we do get grants, and they're all in the budget, easy to read. That's all.
So if we were to put in put in $1 million.
We'd have to get the
And
money.
they give us 500, and then Councilman Esteb said, we have to do probably some backroom negotiations with our delegation. And it may not end up being $1 million, or $2 million, it may end up being 500,000. Does that have, we don't even know if we're going to get the money. This is what they're saying. We're just doing a placeholder. And I'm trying to understand how that has a negative impact on
Asking
our
for the
budget.
money would not have an impact on our budget. We'd
Okay.
have to get it, right? Or have it pledged to us or something, so we'd have to account for it. An economic development corporation would have to have a CEO who is a seasoned professional at this. So that's $150,000 to $180,000 a year job. Then you got to have somebody who manages the office and does this sort of thing, and that's another $80,000 a year job. And then you need at least two, or a specialist whose job is to go out and do what the corporation's mission is, and they would have to be economic development people, types, not just folks transitioning from somewhere else, who specialize in retail, specialize in what we had in Albany, which was manufacturing. And so Rockville probably has something like that, and that cost them $1.6 million a year to run it, right? So we probably, it's gonna be $1.2 million or so when salaries and fringe and office space and all that comes up, and that's based on my experiences. Now, the person that we wanted to identify to say, okay, here's how you do it. Here's the checklist you have to follow to get this going. That's what I'm waiting. That's what we're waiting to do. That person wants to make sure that, in midstream, his mission doesn't change, and I understand that too. So, and that's what we're looking for here. What's the mission? And because once we come up with the how to do a corporation, within that's going to be how much it costs, the actual cost of it, for which I'm making my assumptions based on what I did in Southwest Georgia, which will be different here, obviously, and it was 20 years ago too. So that's what we need to know, and we're prepared to run with whatever ball you throw our way, as this works.
And I'm not really sure I understand where we're diverging on what we need to get done. I think it was summed up when we said we need to get Economic Development Corporation. We need to make sure, I believe we need to make sure we have somebody who checks all the boxes. Make sure we do that. And I'm in agreement with that. We also want someone who can help us understand exactly how much that costs. So I think we're all on the same page with that. I think so we've got to give some money for somebody to do that. All right, so we need to do that. The second thing we need to do is, I think we're kind of going back and forth on a number, and my first impression, being candid, and I understand you're passionate about it, Councilwoman, for example.
It's not passion, it's data, but keep going.
No, I mean you're passionate about wanting to have the economic development.
Funding.
Okay, that's what I'm looking at. I understand you're passionate on that. And so you're saying, let's make sure we ask for enough, and almost like negotiating. What you ask for, you may not get, but you might get a little lower, but at least you ask for it, because that's what it would take to do this. Am I summarizing your general feelings on that? I don't want to get too far into.
Yeah, I think that's the general theme, because there's money in different pockets. There's
Right.
money in commerce, there's money in TEDCO, there's money in housing, there's money in the state session. So, yeah.
Okay. So I think, city manager, you've got to
Well, the mission of hiring somebody to tell us how to set up an economic development corporation, I got it. This issue of going to the General Assembly and asking, that's a separate action from my perspective. I mean, and that's the council. You guys go and say, okay.
Yeah, and that's what we're getting at.
But we won't know, we wouldn't know, and we're going to shoot for March, it's going to be later, it's specifically what it's going to cost. But it's going to cost, it's got to cost us $2 million to get this thing going. It just has to. But I don't know that. But I've been at this since '98, so I've seen it. But this person will give us specifics and then tell us how to do it. So you can take that plan. If the council decides, okay, we're doing this thing, then we can get with the lawyers and say, okay, how do we do this? And then we go by the checklist, like you're getting ready to go fly a helicopter or something like that, and finally get to the point where you launch and you're off. But you know the legal aspects, the money, all things associated with it, and you can ask for as much money as you want from the state, and not sure much you're going to get because they don't have any money this year, they say anyway. But then we might get lucky, and we might get fortunate. So.
Yeah. Councilman Brady first, and then Councilwoman Engelmadi.
Of staff, if we establish an economic development corporation, I expect that there'd be probably an annual contribution coming from the city to the EDC through the.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, what?
There would have to be.
Yes. So we're talking about a startup period and then a continuation period, if you will.
Yeah.
My understanding is it'd probably take close to 6 months to set up an EDC.
I don't know that, but that sounds reasonable.
If you do a Google search, or if you used AI, their chat GPT, it comes back with 6 months. So it takes 6 months to set it up, which means you've got 6 months of running it. And if we're talking about, as I said, I just threw out the number 250. I anticipate it will be matched by the state through the efforts of our delegation. So that's $500,000 over 6 months equates to $1 million to start. And then we get into the next budget process where we tweak that number and start honing in on what the appropriate level would be in the future. As I said, it's a seed to start it up. Now, it could be $500,000. I don't really care. I think we need to start moving forward on this. And I have no problems with essentially bringing somebody in to define the roadmap we need to get there, what the requirements are, what legal steps need to be taken, what the actual funding should be. I don't have a problem with that. I just think we need to commit to doing it, and we just throw out a number which will probably get changed in the end anyway. So I would strongly encourage we move forward on this now.
Councilwoman?
I just have a few clarifying questions. What is the timeline on hiring the consultant and then possibly getting an output back from them?
The plan was to hire the person in December with the intent of having the results in March during the budget process. Of course, that's delayed now by 2 months. So you hire somebody right now, hopefully they'll have something ready for us in April. I think the act of hiring the person is a matter of a week or two and just going through the bureaucracies of spending public money.
Okay, awesome. And what is the dollar amount associated with hiring this entity?
Well, it was somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000.
Should we hire? Redefine the scope, it'll be $50,000 project.
All right. Well,
I couldn't hear you.
Okay, then.
Go ahead,
I mean,
City
since
Manager.
the scope has been adjusted, we now believe it'll be around $50,000 to do all of this. The problem is that, no problem, but the reality is, this is a small economic development operation developed for a bedroom community. So we have one economic developer and one retention person. So we simply must go out and get somebody to help us with this, somebody who does this. So, but, I mean, it could be done. There's money in the contingency account. There's other places where we have money in this year's budget to get this done. If that, without supplementals and all that sort of thing, but if that's what you want to do.
Mr. Mayor, my last clarifying question is for you. So if, I just want to make sure I understand correctly. So we would hire this entity, they would come back to us with a plan, possibly mid-budget cycle, and then essentially at that time, would we then decide whether we want to go forward with the recommendations that this person brings forward to us and allocate money or funding to do Economic Development Corporation if we choose or not? Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Well, whatever that is developed, we need to make sure that we as a council approve it. I mean, you can't just go on. But my hope is that we're gonna get a product that we could work with to make sure that he's professional enough, if, I don't wanna get too much in the weeds, but if they're professional enough, that it's something that identifies, tells us what that is, gives us those boundaries, and actually get us going, because we need to establish the Economic Development Corporation. If we're gonna do it, we need to do that now, and I think everybody here agrees with that, so.
Okay, there's just one suggestion for staff based on the scope of this entity that we would bring in, would be essentially, once they give us the cost associated with, or the startup cost associated with starting an economic development corporations, if they could also include in there like the potential types of programs and like costs associated with that. So not just cost to hire the staff of this economic development corporation, but essentially what this economic development corporation could then do in the city. That would be helpful to understand, because then that would give us a basis to then, my guess is what this council is alluding to, it would give us a basis to then go and ask for funding at that time based on certain programmatic areas. And the reason why I'm suggesting that, for context, just for District 4 residents who are here and are listening, is because development is happening every day in the city of Bowie. We don't have the luxury of time because we don't have that much available property. And I know we're talking about revitalizing Old Shopping Center, Pointer Ridge Plaza being one example. Things are happening every single day. Leases are getting established every single day. So we just don't really have the luxury of time. So if we are going to move forward with that, what I'm going to add in the scope is that they come back to us with concrete areas, not just of what it would take to fund the staff, but then concrete areas of what that EDC would then do in a 1-year span, in a short runway. Like, what could they do? What programs could they then execute on?
Is that even feasible? Is that what she's saying? Is that feasible? No, I'm talking.
Yeah, we can ask him for an implementation plan and tell us what to do. First off, he's gonna ask him like crazy. The second thing he's gonna do is say, what do you want done? You're forming it to do something. What does he want to do?
Well, we can do that within the scope of $50,000, we believe.
What was that number?
The $50,000 number.
Okay.
The, coming back with here's how you set it up and here's what it will do. Of course, so just to clarify, talking to the whole council here now, the issue, what we want to focus the Economic Development Corporation, in my other experiences, the corporation was there to create jobs.
Right.
But we had a manufacturing base that was significant. Miller, Procter & Gamble, all those guys. So the mission of this corporation would be retail recruitment, correct?
Right.
I'm asking, I mean.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
that's what I'm waiting to hear.
Or the redevelopment, of the current, the town center and the strip malls that we have all over town, and those small shops, the redevelopment of that, or the improvement, what would be the mission of it? Just,
You know, as I will give my colleagues a chance to go first, but I will start going if need be. Anybody has something that they want to say?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was under the impression revitalization of some of the landmarks and placemakers that we have, along with creating new opportunities and developing economics for the city.
so I got, first, looking at the current shopping areas that we have, improving and redeveloping them. And that second point you made, Mr. Truesdale, was, specifically bringing manufacturers to town, bringing better retail to town. What does that equate to in actions?
Councilwoman, well, did you want that? Councilwoman, go ahead.
All right, so here you go. What we're looking for is accelerating business expansion, expanding employment opportunities, growing non-residential tax base, which could be anything. And then when you talked about the redevelopment, since we don't have a lot of excess, land around to develop, it would be, just like you stated, Mr. City Manager, it would be the revitalization and making a cohesive downtown area, as well as, all the other shopping centers, so that there is some type of strategy as we move forward with revitalizing and trying to bring in the types of businesses that the community wants. So again, it's strengthening, well, let me just go through. Accelerating business expansion, strengthening small and minority businesses, catalyzing or, creating more mixed use and commercial revitalization. I don't think we're going to get a lot of that, but expanding employment opportunities, because we don't have manufacturing here. So it can't just be about jobs. It has to be about bringing the actual focused and strategic economic development that we talk about here, being in Bowie, that economic engine. So those would be the things, which would result in job creation, for sure.
Can I, do you have something you need to add?
I already shared this document with staff, so they already have it.
All right. Well, my point on, I guess at this time with all of this is, what we just said, that's still a very broad spectrum. Is it not?
Yeah, you use a lot. I mean, the point of taking and looking at our shopping areas and trying to revitalize them, that's rather direct and quantifiable. It's okay, and trying to figure out ways to do that. Coming up with a non-residential tax base in a suburban town, that's a tough one. I mean, we would have to look at that and see what that means as far as actions are concerned, and what a member of the corporation would have to do to go out and do that, and look for some manufacturing or look for warehouse space. I mean, what are those things, and try to use those to maybe revitalize those. Bring in the businesses that has things that don't exist now that could exist then, that would help us. But $49 million is a lot of money to replace, which is what we get from property taxes in this suburban town.
Yeah.
But I think we have enough to run with. We've got enough to run with. I mean, if you all could be patient with this and let us get back to you in April with the results, and then if you want, that's up to you, simultaneously, you all can agree how much you're going to go talk to the delegation and say how much we need.
Yeah, I appreciate that, City Manager. One of the things that I think we all agree is that the way things are going, and we know the development coming up around us, and we know what's going to be happening by Bowie State and other things with just doing that. I think it's one of those things where we still talk about live, work, play. So as we look at the jobs and all of those things, we still have to make sure we're accounting for development for people to move in. So the whole live, work, play. But I think you've got the ball now from what we do. I don't think we need to make a motion or anything. We're just giving you direction. And I think we'll get going on getting that EDC done. The one thing we have to agree on, and we just need to do it right now, is how much are we gonna give to them to ask for us? With the thing, and we just need to agree on that number right now. Michael, do you have a number? I'm gonna poll everybody, just quickly, just. If not, it's okay.
I don't. I'm going to defer to my colleague.
Okay.
I hear what Roxy's saying about let's ask for the moon, but I also know if I call Senator Watson and ask for the moon, he's going to politely tell me where to put that number.
I got you.
So, yeah.
Okay. Councilwoman?
So I don't have a problem with going with $1 million and they come back and tell me we only can get 250,000. I don't have a problem with that. But then what I'm not clear on, we've already voted and agreed on having an economic development corporation.
Yeah, we've already had that in there.
What you've done, no, that's not accurate.
Okay, go ahead,
What you've
clarify.
done is told us to go out and come back and tell you if it's feasible and how much it costs.
Yes.
But
Okay,
you
so
haven't
we're
done.
doing-
And the steps to do
Right.
it.
We're
Go
doing
ahead.
due diligence first,
Yeah.
okay.
They're
all
getting
right.
the steps for us and then
Okay.
the cost.
Jeez, all right, I'll go with the $1 million, knowing that the delegation will come back and not give us $1 million. But we have to negotiate, so.
Okay, Dufour?
I'm fine with that as well. I think this year is a tough ask year, and, you know, whatever we can get, great, but
Yeah. Okay.
my expectations are pretty small.
Councilman?
I don't care.
Council Truesdale?
I defer in terms of the amount. I'm getting the understanding that a consultant,
you're deferring?
no, I didn't defer, okay? So, getting a master plan consultant is different from operating the corporation. So them amounts would be very, very different. The consultant, in terms of getting the data analytics of what we would spend and how we would spend with, you know, moving forward in developing that corporation. Whatever it costs, I would say 100,000, 50 to 100,000, in terms of getting a consultant to getting the data that we need to move forward in a strategic way. Thank you.
Okay, now, we've agreed on that already, is what I want you to understand. Okay. We've agreed on that.
Mr.
So
Mayor,
we're gonna-
my
we're
dollar
gonna-
amount is going to be $2 million. Staff already kind of hypothetically threw out that it might cost us $2 million for the first year, so I'm going to go for the $2 million ask. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, it's obvious we have different things. I think I heard $1 million more than I did $2 million, and I'm not a auctioneer. But I will entertain a motion, and if need be, I'll make a motion that we ask our legislative body for $1 million to assist us with our Economic Development Corporation.
Second.
That we're developing.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Discussion. Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor.
Opposed, nay.
What was the
6-1.
tally for us, please, City Clerk?
6-1.
6-1.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, there is an additional item I'd like to put on the agenda. It will only take us about an hour and a half to get through.
Let me help you with that, sir.
Okay,
I'd like to make a
having
motion
said
for
that-
an
having
immediate
said that-
adjournment to discuss an hour and a half later, but immediate adjournment, sir.
Wait, no, let's go formally with the motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you to everyone for staying with us and going through this. Thank you very much for all those who listened in. Staff, as always, and the leadership here, thank you for all that you do. We appreciate you. Have a good night.